In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Yo, what's the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn, C3 Panthers Podcast. Tonight's show, thirsty Panthers need to take a sip and zip their lips. The 49ers have inquired about Teddy Bridgewater, and we're asking if this is genuine or are they on a fact-finding mission. Kyle Rudolph has also been cut by the Minnesota Vikings. Some people are interested to see if he could be a good fit for a Panthers team with no tight ends. We've got draft talk tonight, where there could be as many as 5 quarterbacks going in the top 8 picks, and you cannot get away from the discussion of Deshaun Watson. All of these are just the tip of the iceberg because we've got a big, giant Twitter war to talk about as well. That's right. I had to take my damn blood pressure medicine this week as I argued with people, and I'm trying to stop doing this on Twitter about life and crap like that. They get so stressed out about this. I almost missed the whole. Actually, thank God I did miss the hockey game that night because the Canes had lost a heartbreaker to Tampa Bay. But I got to argue with these people over whether Teddy Bridgewater is actually as good as Deshaun Watson if he had a line. I don't even know what kind of planet I live on when I got to go into these discussions. It was wild. It was zany. And I tell you, there are still more Teddy Bridgewater lovers in the world than I knew.
They're in it for the troll. I firmly believe they're in it for the troll.
And on one other thing, too, is how do they like the guy when the Panthers have come out and said they don't like the guy? Are you putting a player ahead of the team as you used to criticize us with Cam Newton? We got all of that. Your calls, the number's 252-228-5098. Go ahead, sub up, smash the thumbs up button. We need you to help us grow the longest running Panthers podcast. And I know one homie that started in the calls, and now he's in the captain's chair. This guy, my co-pilot on the C3 Panthers podcast, Cody Lashney, welcome back.
Tony Dunn, I moved on up in the world. I started from the bottom, now we're here. Okay? And look, I'm telling you, man, there's no way I'd rather be on Tuesday night than talking about the Carolina Panthers with my fucking boys, bro. Let's go. And you know what, Tony Dunn, I got tired of everybody asking me, oh, Cody, what do you think about this player? What do you think about that player? Well, you know what? I hadn't been looking at any of them, and I got tired of not having answers. This weekend, I did a bunch of film review. I looked at a ton of college prospects. We're going to be talking about some of those and more in the coming weeks on this channel. But, Tony, before we get to all that, before we get to all this juicy Panthers content, you know we're going to rock with the best Panther fans in all of YouTube. Richard's Outdoor World, Chuck from Elizabeth City, Joey the Blind Panther Esquivel, what's up, dog? Trill 1, Brad Dugan, Joey D, 10 Tizzy, 704 Bound Charlotte, Blake Bettis, and none other than the C3 co-founder, Joe Riolano in the chat room. Holla at your boy, that freaking Puerto Rican, bro. You already know what it is. It's going to be a lit show. Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
Word, Greg, the Bat Daddy, the man of many podcasts. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I hope everybody else is. Tuesday night, like Cody said, just always great to talk Panthers football. And I don't even really look up Panthers news during the week because I just come here and we talk about all the best stuff anyway. So I get most of my stuff is reactionary.
Dude, actually,
I hear big news. So
you indirectly look up Panthers news just by getting on Twitter. Because I have developed this community both on Twitter and Facebook and all these different places where it's so wonderful. I know social media can be, and I was bitching about being stressed out by social media just a moment ago. But Twitter and all of this has actually been great. I love Twitter because all of my followers and the people I follow, since I just used the podcast account as like my personal account, we all have this common interest. And so really, usually when I open Twitter up, it's a wonderful thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm finding people we're like-minded. And then every now and then I run into a guy who says, Deshaun Watson would not have made the Panthers better behind our offensive line. And I just wanted to go nutso. I'm like steam coming out my ears, believing that the idea that Teddy Bridgewater, they went on to this, guys, that our receivers had one of the highest drop rates in the red zone. I don't even remember.
God.
I don't even remember all these dropped passes in the red zone. I remember the one from DJ Moore in the very beginning. It was like week 1. Remember, he went up and it was kind of a crazy throw. He was up there. He should have caught it. But other than that, I don't remember this like dropsy world.
Because it didn't exist. It wasn't true. And listen, Tony, the same 5 people are the same people that make this discussion with us, that defend Teddy Bridgewater on Twitter. And they're always playing the contrarian. They're always having a bunch of people shout them down. I'm entirely convinced they exist just to troll people like us.
Gotta be.
And they believe that we troll them because we hate Teddy Bridgewater. My boy Carl Van, I know he gets you and him go at it. You go
bro, I've been cussing Carl out, bro, and he goes at me, man. But
I know.
like,
cool. I like
dude.
it.
I do too.
He don't like. So he's upset.
He calls us camsexuals,
which is funny. It is funny. That is super funny, right? But at the same time, is that it does show you quarterbacks can and there's maybe it's not just quarterbacks, maybe it's just certain personalities can entrench people to the level of politics.
Tear your fan base in half.
Right. Well, or just or families, right? Like it's just like this is that you can have. I went and helped my grandma move some like she's moving in with my aunt, and I went and got some stuff and this and that. And my aunt was there, and I don't know why I'm saying aunt. I usually say aunt. My aunt, Anne Marie, and she is this super Trumper, yo. And it's just like. And I'm not even like super liberal, but she sees anybody who is not like a rightist as like a crazy leftist, right? And it's bizarre. And when it's like you almost can't get past that. Like to her, she's always dropping some stuff. Like she's like, that's what liberals do. Like, because I'm there. So this is what Cam Newton did to people. This is Barack Obama did to people. This is what Donald Trump did to people. And now it's what Teddy Bridgewater does to people. He divides. And the news, guys, was that the 49ers have inquired about potentially getting Teddy Bridgewater in a trade. And when I heard the news, fellas, they said they were trying. The way the news presented is they inquired to trade for a backup. So that was funny. I laughed at that point. It's like they weren't just offering Garoppolo for Teddy Bridgewater. They just want to know what would it cost to get Teddy Bridgewater to be their backup for when Garoppolo gets hurt. And the Panthers said a bag of Doritos, and the 49ers said, we're out.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. People are trying to see what we're willing to give up and how thirsty we are to move up for a quarterback. And real quick, before we go any further, 10 Tizzy's in the chat room, still really upset that I didn't mention his name during my initial roll
That's
call.
My boy right there.
Sorry, 10. I love you, bro. I thought it's implied, bro. My bad, okay? Anyway, now that 10 Tizzy's feeling okay, I do. Listen, I've said it. What 2 or 3 weeks in a row now? The Panthers being this thirsty for a quarterback is a problem because we are actively deflating Teddy Bridgewater's value as if there was any at all. Like all you have to do is watch the man on film and see how many throws he leaves on the football field to know that he isn't a starting level a quarterback in the NFL. Like, I know you're gonna play a clip later on with Chris Sims talking about it, but I have always made. Yeah, let's do it because I have, and you can back me up on this, Tony.
Nah, yep.
I have made this comparison for over a year now. This was the specific comparison that I made when talking about Teddy Bridgewater. So yeah, play that because I think it's a good.
And
discussion.
one other thing is that Cody too has been a Chris Sims supporter.
Yeah, I love Chris Sims. I think he has great takes on quarterbacks and draft prospects.
It's overlapping at this point. And all right, so here is some discussion. What are they? Pro Football Talk, PF. What are they? What is
Pro Football Talk, NBC? They're on Peacock now.
What's the guy?
Will Florio.
He certainly can. I mean, we know he's a student of the game. He's going to do those type of things, but I don't think he's as good as Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, this one is eye-popping to me. Listen, I look at it from this aspect. You know, I think a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo can look at all the other rumors and things that have been out there about replacing him, right? Oh, Tom Brady. Okay, I mean, I understand. It's Tom Brady. Okay, yeah, he's the GOAT, whatever, right? You know, oh, Matt Stafford. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, Matt Stafford, holy cow, it's one of the greatest throwers in the history of football. Deshaun Watson. All right, yeah, he's definitely one of the 5 best quarterbacks in football. This is the one, if I'm Jimmy Garoppolo, like, I'm pissed off. This one right here where I go, what? Teddy Bridgewater. You're going to replace me for Teddy Bridgewater? That's the one where I think you could actually anger him, where he's going to go, are you kidding me? You know, Teddy Bridgewater, yes, very good. Like, to me, he's not really a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's a borderline starter / backup. Yeah, the stats were pretty good last year. Great. It's all stats.
They're
they
not
don't want them this
good.
year, do they? You know, they don't.
It's
again, it goes into, hey, the stats are great, but there's so many plays and yards that were left on the field last year. They got arguably the best receiving core in football last year as far as explosiveness. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel. So I'm sure Carolina got done with the year and was like, what? We left people open for touchdowns and plays all over the place. And that's why they're trying to move on. So I'm interested to see how, you know, that reaction and how this all gets portrayed for Jimmy G.
Grassy knoll theory from me.
Okay.
I'm looking at Teddy Bridgewater's contract. Salary this year of $17 million. Compensation package for Jimmy Garoppolo, $25 million. Maybe this is just a step toward eventually going to Jimmy and saying, hey, we can't pay you $25 this year. We can't do it. That's why we called about Teddy. He's coming in at 17.
Maybe.
And Jimmy, hey, have your agent Don Yee call around, see if there's somebody out
All right, so he put on his tinfoil hat, right? Or trying to figure out why they're doing this. And I didn't invent this. I just saw someone say it on Twitter or something, but I like it. So I'm repurposing it. Is that the 49ers are trying to find out about the Carolina Panthers, but not about Teddy Bridgewater, about how thirsty they are to move up in the draft in case San Francisco is plotting to do something similar. This is a recon mission.
You know something, Tony? I actually was going to bring up the point that I didn't think that Carolina being thirsty was that big of a deal, other than hurting Teddy Bridgewater's trade value, which, no surprise, everybody saw him last year. And being thirsty for a quarterback is not necessarily a bad thing because you can't hide that when you are. Everybody knows you need a quarterback. But what you just brought up is changing my mind because you're absolutely right. That is a strategy they could use. So now you've got me thinking that's possible. Tinfoil hat, I like it.
You know, when we were interviewing GMs and we had this exhaustive search, right? where we interviewed something like 15 or so candidates. David Tepper came out afterwards and said one of the good parts maybe is that we learned about other organizations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and right now there are a lot of projections that there's, in fact, I'll skip ahead of the Kyle Rudolph talk. And let's just quickly go to kind of draft talk because it's related to this, right? Is what is the Panthers situation? Right now, we know that the Carolina Panthers are unhappy with Teddy Bridgewater. Sorry. I'm sorry, Teddy Bridgewater supporters. They try, and I finally just ended every conversation with these people was you're right. If a team calls up and offers us a first, I'm going to hang up the phone if I'm Scott Fitter and say for Teddy, a first for Teddy. I'm going to hang up the phone and before I hang up, I'm going to say, don't call back unless you got a respectful deal. Because I found out that Teddy Bridgewater is just as good as Deshaun Watson. He's limited by not having Christian McCaffrey, by having a poor offensive line, and having wide receivers who drop it in the red zone.
Can you imagine?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, and it's the defense that is the Houston Texans defense inflated Deshaun Watson's numbers because they were always garbage comeback yards, but Teddy Bridgewater's yards all harder.
And that's why, like,
do first. If you want, you know what? I don't even know if I'm going to field a call straight up. Deshaun Watson for Teddy Bridgewater. I got some reservations. I think they might have to throw a pick in the Texans.
A pick to the to who?
Yeah, they got to give us Deshaun Watson and their second round pick for Teddy. I'm not listening because Teddy Bridgewater is the GOAT. That's what I learned.
Well, it's almost like a football litmus test, right? Like that's why I believe that they're trolls. Because it's like if you're going to sit there and tell me that Teddy Bridgewater's the guy, and if only he had better receivers or Christian McCaffrey or this, like it's like, dude, that's why it's like you're arguing for the existence of Santa, okay? Like you're really just out on a limb in La La Land. And that's a weird fucking hill to die on, man. It's like, listen, and this is why I'm so proud.
I didn't know they were still there. I didn't know that.
And
that's
listen,
the control argument might be. Right.
I am so proud of us and all the fans in our chat room who have been with us for the long haul. They should know we have never been fooled or bamboozled by this Teddy Bridgewater bullshit. Like we never have. We told you all before the season started that this is the kind of player that Teddy Bridgewater is. And the reason why it's so incompetent and that it hurts us now is that not only did we overpay him, but we overpaid a player that a bunch of fans who run a podcast can clearly see on film isn't worth that kind of money and isn't a starter in the NFL.
Whoa. No.
We're not even looking at film. We're looking at game broadcast.
Yeah, we're just watching the games. It's the eyes, but the last kind of state, or for me, as I was getting, they were like, what if this, right? And you can't say that Deshaun Watson would be so great here, blah, blah, blah. So then they're always moving this needle around. I feel like that's what they say I'm doing. They're always moving this needle around. But my thing is this: why the hell are you mad at me?
Right.
If you were mad at me in week 6, I get it, right? We were not on the Teddy train from the beginning, and I will admit it, right? Is that I thought it was a bad move to move on from Cam, not because I thought Cam was going to be the savior, but I thought this: you're already 20 million in, you got a quarterback on a deal that's reasonable, 22-20 quarterback Cam. Yes, he's injury prone. What's the worst that's going to happen? He gets hurt, and you're all of a sudden starting whoever, Will Greer, PJ Walker, and either those guys show that they could do it or you get a good draft pick. So what's the harm? You know what I'm saying? You're already paying the money. this and that. They were like, no, what if Cam? This is what Jonathan Jones and people were like, no, Cam, what if he balls out? Then the Panthers got to worry about extending him. So like they were like, oh, well, it's a
What's
bad
to worry about? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All
What's
right.
to
So
worry-
because they want to move on. That's what they're saying. They want to all right. So as soon as Teddy came in, all right, it was yes. Do I have the cam sexual part to me? Certainly. As my man Carl Van says, he calls us cam sexuals. Yes, I've been open about that love for Cam. But then the numbers came out for Teddy. 3 years, the same, right? The same contract. So you're giving them start money. You didn't just find somebody on the scrap heap that you think's pretty good, that you think can work as a no, you paid this guy some significant money, and you can't get out of it over the next, like really, we're taking a financial hit even trying to get out of it this year.
Yeah.
So, and on top of that, the third component was so you have 1, 2, and now 3. Is that like there's a small sample set? He's never been that great. He looks like a backup quarterback, a very competent backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And then he turned out to be all of that. And guess what? We were saying it early, but guess who said it recently? The Carolina damn Panthers. So don't be mad at me. Don't be mad at me that your own team, the Scott Fitterer, the damn coach, everybody's throwing Teddy Bridgewater, throwing shade on him. And then you're like, well, what if our offensive line was great? They were best. That's the best offensive line we've seen since 2015, folks.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a piecemeal offensive line. There was an offensive line that was holding together with a Band-Aid and some Gorilla Glue.
Exactly.
It's like, dude, I'm telling you, it's like I've had to learn there are certain people that, dude, if they want to believe in Teddy Bridgewater, that's fine, dude, let them. But there's a reason why the Panthers are looking to move off of him. And there was a reason why the Minnesota Vikings let him go in the first place. And, people like to call us Cam sexuals. Well, here's the damn truth. Cam Newton, on the final year of his contract, not only would have been a better player for us than Teddy Bridgewater, but he would have been cheaper to move on from, too. So even if he still wanted to, they had the option to do so. Yeah. They really fucked this up. I'm not going to say that David Tepper is a lost cause, but, he tried to do this thing where he came in and exercised some patience. He didn't immediately give the axe to Ron Rivera. He didn't immediately give it to Marty Herney. But what we're seeing now is that he should have, because we were a day late, $1 short on all these different issues. And it's coming back to bite us now, because to be honest, it's not a good move for us to trade for Teddy Bridgewater unless that involves Deshaun Watson, because right now he's our only backup option. If we're not able to secure one of the top quarterbacks in this year's draft, like, we literally have no other options unless you're trading for Sam Darnold or Mitch Trubisky or some dumb shit like that. Like, that's a seventh circle of hell, bro. No one's into that.
All right. Look, CK's in the house. What's up, my man?
How's it going?
Welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm happy to be here, man. Happy to be here. Sorry I was a little late. Got caught up with work, but we're here now, man.
You got to pay the bills because this is just for fun. Go ahead and smash the thumbs up button, folks, and give us a share, because that's free. And that's all I'm asking for from you guys, is help us to grow the longest running Panthers podcast. Now, so there's some people in the chat room. One person said this: can you really evaluate somebody on 1 year? So assume they're talking about Teddy Bridgewater in a year at Carolina. I would say this is first, Teddy Bridgewater entered the league in 2014. So yes, while he only played 1 year with Carolina, there is a and that's like the second most games he's ever played is in 2020. And he did have this horrific injury in training camp, right? I think that's kind of my point, though, is that no, you can't evaluate a player in a single year. You have but you have some more notes on Teddy Bridgewater than just 1 year. You have this terrible injury. You have prior to the injury where you saw a team go 11-5, him still only throw 14 touchdowns. So you know that these he's already in the game manager in his best season ever before he comes to Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my thing is that we gave a dude a 3-year contract because we saw him start 5 games with a great Saints team.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're Marty Hurney and the Carolina Panthers, I guess kind of my second level to that question is, can you evaluate a guy in only 5 games? Because they sure did. And they said, hey, 3 years, Teddy Bridgewater, 5 games. I saw it. And, I want to go ahead and say this. If you went back and listened to how many episodes I've done of this dang podcast, at one point, I was calling for Teddy Bridgewater to be Cam Newton's backup.
Yeah, when North Turner was still here because they had familiarity.
Right. Yes. And it was when he was leaving the Jets or something like that. Yes, exactly. There was the North Turner factor. There was the Cam and the shoulder factor. And I thought, man, this guy would serve as somebody that could be what everybody thought Derek Anderson was, but he wasn't.
Right.
Yeah, so that was Jermaine Gill on
starter, not the starter on a 3-year deal.
That was Jermaine Gill on Facebook who asked that question. And like what we need to remember, and I'll keep this short, is that we're not just evaluating 1 year of play. And we're not even just evaluating those 5 games. We are talking about his entire career with the Vikings. We're talking about what he did with the Saints. And we're talking about what he did here in Carolina that you have to evaluate. And listen, that's a considerable number of years and seasons to evaluate a player. And the fact of the matter is this: the man has never thrown for more than 15 touchdowns. His previous record was 14 touchdowns. So he only bested it by 1. It's like,
right.
Yeah, you're not really. I mean, it's not like you're having to wonder about what he can be. Tony, what has been my saying when it comes to Bridgewater? He is who he thought he was. Right.
Yeah.
We don't need to guess about the future and hey, maybe he can do this and that. No, there's no need to guess. He is who we think he is, and it's but it's time to move on.
I was thinking this too, and when my head was about to explode in those arguments. CK, you saw some of this stuff.
I was a part of them all.
CK is trying to be nice. CK comes in there and he's like, man, you were making great points until you said this crap. That was so funny. And that was when somebody said that the Panthers would not have been much better with Deshaun Watson.
No, the statement that was said was this, and this is how boneheaded this statement is. He said, Deshaun Watson without CMC would not have been as impactful as Christian McCaffrey with Teddy Bridgewater. Basically saying there was more value in Teddy Bridgewater and CMC than Deshaun Watson by himself. And I was just basically what I'm hearing from that is the running back was way more important than the quarterback.
I don't know what to say about that.
I mean, there's only one thing to say. It's a very dumb argument. And then I was trying to be nice about it. These guys wanted to come back and said, so by your own admission, he was making valid points. I said he was making valid points when he's trying to take into account the Houston Texans O-line in comparison to our O-line about what Deshaun Watson had to deal with.
This was an interesting statement. All right. So and here, let me pull up these images. But what is great about this is that our team would have been a damn 12-4 if we would have had Christian McCaffrey, obviously. But strangely, with Christian McCaffrey in 3 games, how many we win, Cody?
On this team this year with Christian?
Yeah, because we had Christian McCaffrey for like 3 games, right?
Yeah, he didn't win a single game that he was in, if my memory recalls correctly.
Oh,
he went out in game 3, right? And we won the next 3 after we lost the first 2. Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater and Christian McCaffrey are 0-3 together.
And the funny thing is like the truth remains the same. And I've even seen guys, what was that former offensive lineman? I think it was Greg Schwartz. Yeah, I was like, people were arguing with him on Twitter the other day, trying to talk about, the Panthers wouldn't even be a playoff team even if we traded for Deshaun. And then he tries to go into, he's like, no, technically the ball, Teddy had the ball in his hands, but it wasn't all on him because, and dude, that just showed me that even you can be someone who's played the game, you can know football, and still just convince yourself of some dumb shit, like just something that makes no sense at all. Like, dude, if you're looking for something, you're sure to find it every single time. And if you're going to break down Teddy Bridgewater's film and find every little flaw or mistake that DJ Moore made in running a route or not catching, like, you're being willfully blind to all of the other evident film of Teddy Bridgewater showing a clear lack of arm talent, a clear lack of tenacity throwing the football downfield, and even when he sees them open. Like, there have been times when you can see Teddy going through his progressions, seeing the open receiver and choosing not to throw it. That is unacceptable.
So this kind of started when I just said, oh, we just can't have the noodle, anything to get rid of the noodle arm. That's all I said is anything to get rid of it. And then everybody's like, oh, what about our offensive line? And so they were saying this, and this is when I put up this tweet, and this got a lot of pushback, and I'm ready to kind of argue over it. And that is, I said that, and I may be wrong about shitting on Houston's offensive line. So I'll admit that is that the stats that they showed when it comes to offensive line, they weren't atrocious. But I said that the Carolina Panthers offensive line was arguably the best it has had since 2015. So 2015 was a top 6 line. We made it all the way to the Super Bowl. We were fantastic. 2015. 2016, we had a falling apart of the offensive line that began with the Michael Orr concussion, and it just continued to spiral out of control. 2017, we went 11-5. So I bet you if we pulled the stats up, I'd say, okay, the 2017 line maybe was somewhat okay, but that's playing in spite of Matt Khalil, who sucked a big fat donkey dick. And that might even have been the year that Ryan Khalil actually did hurt his neck in the adult broom. Right, we had like mystery neck injury. Remember, I can't remember if that was 2017 or 2018.
It lingered for a long time.
Yeah, it was wild. It was just like he slept on it wrong, and he missed like 8 weeks. But that offensive line, and Matt Khalil was so bad. I'm trying to say this is that last year we were 30. In 2019, we were 30th in pass blocking. This year, we were 23rd in pass blocking, and whatever statistic they put up, we were like 13 in run blocking. So, no, am I trying to say that offensive line was good? They weren't great. They were a little below average, and that's with missing Russell Okung, who's a first-year player, right? Is that not a first-year player? He's not a rookie, but we missed him a lot. We no longer have Trey Turner. We only have Moton and Paradis. And then it was a revolving door of other dudes. I just didn't feel like they were the worst line in the world. I'm not trying to say I don't want it to be better. But I didn't feel like Teddy was just getting blown up on the left side every time Trent Scott played.
No. But see, the thing is, Tony, we're arguing to like 2 people. Like, even if you look at that tweet, you only got 2 likes. Like,
look at this. And if we would have had CMC, we probably would have had one of the better offenses in the league. CMC's TD pace over 3 games would have had him on pace for most TDs by any player in NFL history. The reality is losing CMC affected in this offense more than anything.
But weren't most of his touchdowns rushing touchdowns? Didn't he have like 4 or 5 rushing touchdowns in the first 2 games? I can't remember.
He's not a
He did pretty
great
amazing.
dynamic player that we would be. Certainly, you'd want to have Christian McCaffrey rather than not have him. But Christian McCaffrey doesn't make your offensive line better if they're so shitty.
Right.
Right? Is that, and then the other thing, what happened about the end of the year, and this was really, it was the opposite of what the Bucks did to the Chiefs. But basically, whenever we played a team towards the back in the second half, after like week 8 or week 10, all they did is put a bunch of DBs in the back and say, beat us with the run then.
Mm-hmm.
No, they would stack. No, excuse me. I said that backwards. They would stack the box and they would say, throw deep. We don't believe you can do it. And what I meant to say is in the Super Bowl, guess what the damn Tampa Bay Buccaneers did? They said, we got a great run defense. We'll just man up that run defense and we'll just put extra dudes in the back and you're going to have to try to run on us. And we could not do it. So how would that have, I'm not saying we wouldn't have been better with CMC, but our problem wasn't just an ineffective running game. Mm-hmm. Our problem is that teams could make us simply one-dimensional by taking away the deep threat.
Right.
Completely.
Yeah, when your running back gives you over 1,000 yards, I mean, a quarterback who's supposed to be as good as Teddy Bridgewater should be able to work with that. And if a running back's giving you over 1,000 yards, I'd say your offensive line has to be at least, par with the rest of the league or right at that, mid-level. So saying that CMC would have done all this is kind of killing the argument of not having a good offensive line and everything else, because Teddy Bridgewater should be able to do it with that,
Kyle L says nobody likes Cat Chronicles. I believe that fundamentally.
Apparently he does because he's fucking watching the show. So.
No, he likes y'all three. He don't like me. Fundamentally, I got 3 kids that love me. I got a wife that loves me. And according to my man, Mr. Rankins on Twitter, he likes me too. So it's cool. Don't worry. I got 4 fans.
I like you, Tony.
I like you too, buddy.
All right. Here, let's go ahead and jump into a cat call. And then we'll talk about these 5 quarterbacks in 8 picks in a mock draft of that doesn't mean anything, but I do think it's interesting starting point, and that is so we'll get into that and let's see where the calls take us.
What are your thoughts on catcalling? Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody. And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So, how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like a 3 and a 4 and a who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
What it do, boys? It's your boy Mike, a.k.a. Suprema.
It's like a wrestler's intro.
Supreme, what up, bro?
How you doing? Hope you're doing all right. I am well. Not really a lot going on, in Panther Nation. Let me think. Oh yeah. So this guy, he goes by the name of Mel Kiper, and I just want to talk about this, boys, because it seems like every fucking year there's this one pick in one of his mock drafts that has so-and-so, going here, and it's like, what the fuck are you smoking, Mel Kiper?
He's talking about Matt Jones.
It might be time to retire and just let Todd McShay, take over, the prospect duties or whatever, because I will turn every table over in my house if I see Mac Jones go to the Panthers at the number 8 pick. The number 8? You think he's a top 10 pick? Oh my God. Oh. And with Trey Lance still on the board, you have got to be. Oh my God. Please, Scott. Please, Matt. Please, David. Please. If you have a choice between Trey Lance and Mac Jones, you take Trey Lance and you let him sit for a year at the most so he can learn Brady's offense, so he can learn some stuff behind Bridgewater. Sorry, boys, I can't even say that without throwing up. So he can learn
I feel you, bro.
for a year.
He's sticking with the stick.
Let him do what he does. I can't believe this, boys.
Highlight Charles' comment. Mac Jones is nothing more than the Richardson statue in a uniform. True words. So, Mel Kiper had the Panthers taking Matt Jones at 8, and
Mac. I don't know.
Mac, M-A-C, like mac and cheese,
or mac and
and then they had Trey Lance going right behind us to the Denver Broncos, which is embarrassing. And like, frankly, like, it's okay if once, every few years you're higher on a quarterback than someone else. But dude, this is a consistent trend for Mel Kiper. Look, this was the guy that said Jimmy Clausen would be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
His exact words were he was the most pro-ready quarterback. That was exactly what he said.
Yeah.
And to be honest, is that, and I don't even hold that one so much against him, because maybe he was the Panthers got him in the second, right? Is all the hypes around this kid, but he slipped. Why did he slip? Because he was dumb. That's what I tell you. Jimmy Clausen was dumb. That was his problem.
Well, but it also, but to be fair, the man who drafted him was pretty fucking dumb too. But that's here nor there. But another thing is he did it with Daniel Jones too. Oh, isn't that kind of funny? He's big on quarterbacks with last name Jones. Daniel Jones, who was big on before the Giants drafted him.
Sick of Daniel Jones. I heard somebody say that Daniel Jones would be the number 2 prospect if he was in this class. I wanted to go over there. And
that was Kiper. That was Mel Kiper that said that.
He said that about Daniel
in this class.
Mel Kiper.
Maybe he's just senile at this point.
Wow.
He's old, bro. He's old. He's got to be old.
He's senile, bro. That's
Here,
it.
to build on this conversation, this is I was listening to the Pick Six podcast. It's CBS. It's got Will Brinson, and Will Brinson somehow has some ties to Carolina. So I always like, he's kind of at least interested in the Panthers and talking about them. But they did, because they're in the off season, and they do basically because CBS, I guess, requires them, because people click on it and this and that. They do a different mock draft every week. And this week, a different writer. So basically, they pass it off to each other to do it. And then they make a show out of, let's go through your picks and why you're talking about. So I forget the guy that did this one. It was not Will Brinson that mocked this, but they were even complaining. And I hate mock drafts, and to the point, no offense to people that are into the stuff like this. It's just like, at so many points, it seems like so much time is invested with like only 1% of it potentially being true.
Pretty accurate statement. Yeah.
Is that, imagine if you put 1 million hours into something knowing that 1% of what you did was right. The thing that was interesting about this mock draft is it goes like this: Lawrence number 1 to the Jags, Wilson number 2 to the Jets. Who's this guy, Chase, the LSU wide receiver?
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase, and the idea
Yeah.
was this: is give some weapons to this team, right? To Tua maybe. And the other thing that they were really interested in was to trade back, right? So they said they wanted the Dolphins to trade back, but Chase was this. Then here it gets interesting to me here. For Justin Fields to the Falcons. And this is an interesting conversation because then if you get Justin Fields, they were very interested in how long, what does that mean? If you're the Falcons, can you do this? You're kind of stuck with Matt Ryan for a minimum of a year, 2 years, really.
That's ideal, isn't it?
That's what I was kind of thinking. Is this
Ideal,
and on top of it, but they were saying this is that quarterbacks, particularly of this type of pedigree, don't sit that long. So, but I did think they were off on one thing. They kept saying they're not going to sit this guy for 2 years. What if you sat him for 1 year and then you traded Matt Ryan next year for for a win now team?
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a guy that's gonna, and then you end up taking you're still paying a lot of their guaranteed money. They just got to take on the salary. So I thought that. Okay, you got something to say on that?
Well, no, I was just gonna say I've tried to be consistent in saying that the Falcons picking ahead of us and potentially wanting another franchise quarterback, because they do have those kinds of options. I mean, look at Aaron Rodgers. He sat for 3 years behind Brett Favre. And by no means am I comparing Matt Ryan to Brett Favre. But what I am saying is that, it doesn't really benefit them to move on from Matt Ryan right now. So they can take a quarterback and actually let them sit and not have to worry about it.
It's actually an ideal situation.
Yeah.
There's no pressure. If Matt Ryan gets hurt, then you can bring him in. You can, on top of that, so you can eat, particularly a guy like Fields, who some of the questions are not really surrounding his physical ability, but more of just
coverages.
But how much of experience he's had. He really has had limited. You think about it, he's had he's a junior, I think. He's not a senior coming out. He might have even played even less than that. So
he's a redshirt sophomore because he played a little bit his freshman year, and then he redshirted, and then he transferred because they alleged some racist shit at UGA, and they granted his transfer voucher. So he's essentially a junior.
So he's not fully, like, you haven't seen, it's not like he's coming out as a senior who played under the most ideal circumstances, right? So really it's just about how much football he's played and how is that going to acclimate to the pro level. So that time would be helpful. The other thing Falcons too is that theoretically, one, they have so many needs. They have needs on every level. Their defense is a mess. They don't have a lot of the defensive players that they really invested in the draft didn't pan out. They lost their whole secondary is missing. And maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe they drafted some guys last year, but they need a lot of things. And I would say the only thing, even their running backs are starting to get some age on them now, right? They no longer have Devontae Freeman, who wasn't good. He was spent anyway. But who's the other guy they got?
At the running back, but they had Todd Gurley. I don't know if he's still.
They had Freeman, and they had what was the guy that went to San Francisco?
Coleman.
Kevin Coleman.
Yeah.
And by the way, I mean I've watched every snap of Justin Fields' career, his college career. A lot of the concerns with him are just with like blitz packages, and you can kind of confuse them. And there are times when he'll just kind of do a Jameis Winston, Cam Newton thing and just throw up a football that he just shouldn't, but he's trying to make a play.
Experience could help him.
Well,
right?
I don't think it's just, I mean, it could help him, but that's also the most beneficial situation when you're trying to learn those things and understanding coverages and diagnosing things. And by the way, it's not even like it's a problem with him too. I feel like that narrative has definitely, from what I've seen, it's been kind of blown out of proportion.
Right,
That
right.
like Justin Fields doesn't know what he's seeing on the field. That's just not true at all.
They were
But
raving about him, and what they were trying to say is this: is that those things that you could point to where he has struggled in those kind of moments, like you're talking about, are negligible in comparison to what you've seen him be able to do and what you think you can coach him to become. Right. And that's what I mean by more experience is more experience in the film room, more experience, just like having a whole year to learn, or even a whole year, one whole year to learn.
Yeah.
Under Matt Ryan there. Who's the coach they just got? The guy from
Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, history shows that quarterbacks that sit behind a veteran quarterback for a year in the league do better in the league long term overall, and usually just right away. I mean, it just makes sense. The Falcons are in a perfect position, I feel, with they're in the position we should have been in, except we don't have the Matt Ryan. We should be third, but they're going to have what was Matt Ryan is 15 years now, something like that, close to it, 12, 13 years. They've had a franchise quarterback, a solid franchise quarterback. He's never been the best in the league, I don't feel, but maybe one year.
But MVP,
yeah, but he's been a solid quarterback, and now they're going to have the opportunity to have him for one more year to teach the next guy that should be a good pick. They're in a perfect position, man. Like I envy it so badly. I can't stand seeing one franchise walk from one quarterback that's been great for a decade to another quarterback that's going to be great for a decade.
All we had to do was
unless
lose
it's
to
my
the
unless it's my
football
franchise.
team,
I know.
All we had to do was fucking
then all this would be out of the question.
Yeah,
all
we're
of it would
picking
be out of the
third.
question.
We're picking third, and then
We're getting one of those guys. Yeah,
and then that makes us a much more desirable landing spot for Deshaun if we wanted to make that too, because then the Texans are guaranteed to get either Wilson, Fields, or Lance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's the next pick. So Fields to the Falcons, they like that. Basically, they're saying QB1 is Lawrence, QB2 is Wilson, QB3 is Fields. Penei Sewell to the Bengals makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, and you can put in another offensive lineman. We could do different things here, but is that Joe Burrow has showed enough sign. I think it's going to be hard for them. They're not going to draft a quarterback, right? They need an offensive line. That's what they need. So then this is where it gets even weirder, man, is Mac Jones to the Eagles. That's QB4 in this mock draft. And the idea was here. I don't even know how to tell you. I don't even know is that a lot of people shit on Mac Jones in Panther lands. I know Cody doesn't really care for him, and I think a lot of it has to do with his statuesque type of game, right? Is that they call it a dad bod. Here is the Pick Six podcast talking a little bit on the back end about Mac Jones to the Eagles and then the Carolina Panthers pick at 8.
Mr. Trubisky's a mobile quarterback. Mr. Trubisky, by all accounts, sucks. Now, he may be able to turn things around, but he did not have a good start to his career in Chicago. All I'm saying is that, number one, we have no idea how these guys turn out. We have no idea. Just see Justin Herbert. Sorry, I have to apologize every time I say Justin Herbert because I got that one wrong. But, I mean, you just don't know. I mean, Justin Fields could have to play immediately and be great. He could struggle. Trey Lance could play immediately and be great, even though he didn't play at all last season except for one crazy game. And I'm just saying Mac Jones, even though he's not the best athlete, has a chance to be a good football player.
Yeah, I agree.
Fair enough.
I want to say this.
No. I got something to say with that. I really got a lot to say with that. These are the idiots that I fight against every draft season. Because it's these guys that claim to know what they're talking about, and they honestly don't have a fucking clue. Like, these are the type of people that they see Matt Jones, they see these beautiful deep ball passes, and look, the dude does have an arm. I'm not going to say that he doesn't have arm talent. Like, he does have, I mean, he can get the ball downfield. But this is what I'm saying. When you take Matt Jones out of the situation that he was in, out of an offensive line that has 5 NFL players on it, with incredible wide receivers like Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle making incredible separation on every single play. Like, it's easy to understand why that guy going into an NFL team that doesn't have a good offensive line, like, say, the Panthers, is going to get obliterated and it's not going to translate. He doesn't have the mobility. He doesn't have the escapability to be able to move the pocket, make throws on the run. But I want to make one more point on this. These are the same people, and he even admitted this in that clip that you played. These are the same people that shit all over Justin Herbert last year. Oh, his completion percentage wasn't where he wanted to be, and oh, he's not accurate on deep ball throws, and oh, he doesn't know how to handle this coverage, and oh, he gets flustered. There are people that don't know how to look at the context of what's happening on the football field. That's something that I've had to get better at when I watch film. But when you look at the talent level of someone comparing like Justin Herbert to Matt Jones, when you know what you're looking at, it's not hard to see how one is an elite level talent that is elevating the players around him versus a quarterback that has studs all around him, all up and down the football field, has the best coach in college football, leading the charge. That's the context that people keep missing in regards to all these quarterbacks that come out every year.
There was a discussion that preceded this, and ultimately what they were trying to get at, and what that back end was saying that everybody is so interested in the mobile quarterback right now, and it seems like this necessity to have a guy like Lamar Jackson or Pat Mahomes that can do off-platform and improvise, or they use Josh Allen as another one. But they also said that doesn't mean that a quarterback that can't do those things can't be great. Right. Mm-hmm. Let's go and let's reference this as Tom Brady won the Super Bowl this year. He's a statue. I don't like Phillip Rivers, and I always thought he was the most overrated. He was a statue. Mm-hmm. The one other I also heard that Tua Tagovailoa came out and said that Mac Jones was a faster, more mobile Tom Brady. Now, he wasn't trying to give him a compliment. And so these guys, what they're trying to say is almost like a system like quarterback. And just because he doesn't fit the narrative now of what he has to win in the NFL doesn't mean he can't be good here. And I understand what you're saying, Cody. I agree with a lot of it. This is the part that got me right here. Is this? I'll play it one more time.
Chance to be a good football player.
He has a chance to be a good football player. Is a chance. A guy that has a chance to be a good football player shouldn't go at 7.
But doesn't everybody just have a chance? Like, I mean,
yes, but if you're
realistically,
you really should. If you're a team like the Eagles, you just got rid of Wentz, you got Jalen Hurts, you don't need to be taking a chance on someone.
That's true. In their situation, I get that. Yeah.
Really believe. So then, go ahead, Greg.
Well, I was just going to ask, kind of adding on to what you were saying before that. So, Cody, you know more about Mac Jones than me. If he is good in college, if put in the right system, can he be a productive quarterback in the pros?
Yes.
Like, say he goes somewhere like Dallas that has a great wide receivers, great running back, a great offensive line. Like, could he fit somewhere like that and play well?
Dude, let me tell you, the New Orleans Saints, if he falls to them, that could be a good pickup for them.
So he's not necessarily a bust quarterback. He just needs to be in the right system.
So Mina Kimes, who I really respect a lot, she works for ESPN. She actually made a good point in reacting to Mel Kiper's mock draft that had us taking Matt Jones at 8. She was like, it used to be if you were a mobile quarterback, like you had to go to a certain fit, to a certain team that knew how to use you. Whereas the traditional statuesque pocket passer that didn't move a lot, that was the guy that you wanted that could fit every single team. Mm-hmm. But now that narrative is flipped completely on its head. And the modern NFL requires that, one, all running backs be able to rush and be a receiver, catch the football, and your quarterback basically needs to be mobile. with all the different blitz packages and all these corners, like I think there are 3 legitimate shutdown corners in this year's draft, and they just keep on pumping them out. They come into the NFL every year. So it's like you have to have a quarterback that can make some magic on his own, a la the Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen. The list goes on. If you don't have a specific set of traits, then you're limited in what your offense can do. And you have to build an incredible offensive line around him. Pretty much everything the Teddy Bridgewater fans have been saying Teddy has to have in order for us to be successful. Yeah, he is a pale skin Teddy Bridgewater with a bigger arm. That's about it.
Okay.
All right. So here is next, and this is why it was interesting to me, because one of the things I do think with the national writers, Cody, is you're right. They have to take such broad strokes. When they look at these teams, when they follow, say, for instance, the Carolina Panthers, every team, right? The national people it's too much to keep up with. And it's almost like why I've focused on football so much. And like right now, the Canes were up 3-0 last I checked. Like I love hockey. I love the Cub. I'm a baseball fan. But I can only keep up and devote so much time. Right. You can only watch these. So these guys are trying to watch all the games at once and then form all these opinions. I think you'll see some of those. I think you'll see some of that come out in the pick they make for us, Cody. I think they say a lot of interesting things and good things, but also some things I think you'll take issue with. So here, let's see what they got to say. The Carolina Panthers at 8 drafting the 5th quarterback in the top 8.
Yeah, I agree.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on. We already talked about Jalen Waddle, who you have going 7 to the Lions. I think certainly everything is in play for the Lions here, including a trade down and including a trade up for a quarterback. But more than likely, you have to think.
Yeah, let me skip ahead a little bit.
If you take Jalen Waddle at 7, that's fine. Just don't screw it up. The Panthers, Trey Lance. Oh goodness gracious! Sell me on Trey Lance as a theoretical Panthers fan, Wilson.
Oh man, God, he's basically Cam Newton without the experience, and he's a better thrower of the ball. He comes from a run-heavy offense, North Dakota State, FCS, all that stuff. Didn't play this year except for the Central Arkansas game, which he didn't play great, but no one cares. You talk to people like we don't give a crap just because it's one game in the middle of the season that no one really prepared for. But he's been working out ever since the season ended for him, and he's incredibly physical. He can run the ball. He might be the best. He probably is the best runner in this draft class among the quarterbacks. He can throw the ball a mile. I mean, he does a lot of the things you want NFL quarterbacks to do. The guys we've been talking about, the Kyler Murrays and Lamar Jacksons and Russ Wilsons and so on. Patrick Mahomes and he's smart. Like you talk to the folks on his coaching staff, and they gave him a lot to have to decipher before the snap. He makes a lot of good decisions. He just hasn't played a ton of football. So that's the thing. So again, this is a situation where if you're bringing Teddy Bridgewater back for a year, let Trey Lance learn. I would imagine, as I joked earlier, that at some point you're going to throw him out there anyway as a rookie, but at least give him a month or two to sort of take it all in. I think he's going to be good. And if you told me in 5 years he was the best quarterback in this group, including Trevor Lawrence, I'd be like, oh, okay, I can see that.
Whoa.
He's insanely athletic. If he went to Clemson, he would be the first overall pick. The difference is he went to North Dakota State.
But I mean, like, how do you end up at North Dakota State if you're that talented?
Ask Carson Wentz. Look, I don't know his backstory. I have to look that up.
No, I just finalized my quarterback grades, and I was blown away watching Trey Lance. He's my quarterback 4 by a wide margin, and I agree with just about every point that Ryan just said, that the upside, we always hear that, especially with quarterbacks during the pre-draft process, is sky high with Trey Lance. Probably the strongest arm in the class too. Runs like a running back, runs through tackles, can jump cut to make defenders miss. And the one full season that we saw from him, he was 19 years old. So, I mean, not only was he not that experienced, this wasn't some like redshirt transfer junior or something like that. That would be probably one of my favorite like pairings in the entire first round. To learn, like Ryan said, even for a couple of months behind Teddy Bridgewater, it'd kind of be like the Matt Barkley, Josh Allen dynamic, where like Teddy Bridgewater is hyper accurate, knows where to go with the football quickly, could kind of help Trey Lance in those regards. And then so much more from a physical perspective. I would love that fit, even if the red shirt only lasts for half the season. I think ideally he would sit his entire rookie season, but Trey Lance really has like number 1 overall pick talent. He's just super raw.
So Brinson, 247 Sports actually wrote about this. So that makes sense. Trey Lance, he's from Minnesota. So he played at Minnesota. He received just 7 scholarship offers. Western Michigan, South Dakota State, Northern Illinois, Cornell, Brown, Boise State, North Dakota State. So he was a 3-star.
So he could have played in the
MAC or the Ivy League.
Yeah.
Get you going.
All right. So here, I'll stop it there and I'll point out this, Cody, is what I thought you would take issue with is number 1, the Cam comparison. Is I feel like that's lazy. Is comparing him to Cam is that he's so hard to compare a mobile quarterback to Cam Newton when he was 250 doing this, and
yeah. Also,
I think he was more of a quarterback that I don't think he was just a read option quarterback in North Dakota State. Is kind of what, and I'm not saying Cam was a read option quarterback only in college, but people knew that it was Cam's athleticism.
Yeah, it was Cam's athleticism, and that Auburn team that he brought to a national championship. None of those receivers made it to the NFL or did anything worth a damn. So Cam Newton quite literally has always been elevating shit talent at the receiver position for a long time. Listen, I'm at the point in my personal evaluations where I don't like player comparisons a whole lot because to me, I just don't like judging a player based on what another guy could or couldn't do. Like, that's why I don't like it's the Ohio State quarterback, can't draft him, or, it's the North Dakota State, can't draft. Like, you're not talking about the player at that point in time. You're just like talking mumbo jumbo. But with that said, I can say this: a lot of the things that guy said isn't necessarily wrong. I mean, the dude is built like a fucking tank, man. He's like 6'4", 225 plus pounds, and dude, he was
at 19, by the way.
He's the youngest. He's the youngest quarterback in this year's draft. He can bowl you over, man. I mean, he can straight up run you over, yards after the contact type shit. He has an incredibly powerful arm, and he understands what he's seeing on the football field. Even when he's throwing the ball deep downfield, he's putting it with absolute perfect placement. I mean, to not throw an interception his entire sophomore year, like that was bananas, dude. Almost 40 touchdowns. Trey Lance is an elite level talent, and I kind of compare him to 2 guys that have come out recently, in Justin Herbert and Josh Allen, 2 guys that have all the physical talent in the world. I mean, if you're building a quarterback in the lab, you're going to build them like those 2 dudes, but who also didn't have a lot of scholarships to big name schools. Justin Herbert, Oregon came coming or knocking at the last minute, and Trey Lance, they wanted him to play a bunch of other positions.
That's the thing with him. That he stuck to his guns.
Yeah, he had offers to go
a quarterback, but they wanted to make him a not a DB. It was like a linebacker or a tight end. They were trying to do what they were doing to Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
he's saying I can do this, and then they had some other good points. Is that like the North Dakota State coaching staff threw a lot on him. Like they asked him to do a lot of pre-snap stuff. They asked him.
Yes.
I just want to say this and who was anti North Dakota State more than anybody?
You.
Right. Is that like I was flicking this stuff on when I was just watching it on YouTube, expecting to not like it. And I have gotten, and you're right, I have fallen in love with Trey Lance. I think that he is. I think there's a certain argument for him being the number 2 prospect at quarterback. And I know that is everybody's all on Zach Wilson, and that dude can ball. So I'm not going to fight you over it. And I'm going to take y'all's word about Justin Fields. I haven't looked enough, but just the eye test of Trey Lance, it looks right. The footwork looks good. He doesn't panic in the pocket and just automatically run. The run game is part of his game, but not the go-to part of his game. And the thing I think was most impressed by, and maybe this is just me noticing one thing and latching onto it, but every snap I watched of Justin Fields, he's out of the shotgun. I might have seen 3 snaps in 4 games of highlights. Now highlights too. So, you're not watching everything, where he was under center. I saw a lot more in one game of Trey Lance under center, bootlegging it out, and I just like that diversity it can bring. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm not saying because you're working out a shotgun all the time, you can't do those things. I just saw him do this. Right. I saw him drop back. I saw him bootleg. I saw him go through his reads. I saw him run the football. And then you hear this, is that kid is 20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's 20.
Still learning.
Yeah, I'm the same way with you, Tony. I've fallen in love with him just watching highlights because I'm starting to accept the fact that there's a really good chance that he's going to fall to us at 8 if we're going to pick a quarterback. And I'm kind of hoping that if he does, we do pick him up. I was watching highlights of him the other day, man, dragging a pile 10 yards down the field, like literally 8, 9 guys in a pile, and he's in the center of it, pushing the ball 10 yards down the field, throwing the ball, and I counted it 60 yards in the air down the field. The guy has an arm. I think for me, just looking at him, and I'm no expert, he reminds me of Deshaun Watson, and Zach Wilson reminds me of Johnny Manziel. Just when I look at those players, that's what I think about. I don't know why, but I
think it might have to do with the colors of the uniforms in BYU, because I think he's bigger.
He is. He's about.
I don't feel like
he was small. I thought he was really small.
No, he's 6'3".
Oh, okay, I thought that was one of the concerns people have with his body.
He does not look imposing at that moment. He's
not jacked. He's like 210 pounds. He's not big.
Yeah. So look, I thought this was interesting though. All right. So now let's go. This is that we've gone through 8 picks of this CBS Sports Draft. Who cares if you guys like it or not? I think that obviously it's not going to happen this way. Trevor Lawrence is going to go number 1. Sorry. I mean, it's just going to happen. So then it's number 2, 3, 4, So are there going to be 4 more quarterbacks taken by 8? I don't know. That seems like a lot. But then let's start with the Jets. And I think that this is where things become interesting. I was listening to when I take my kids to school in the morning, I listen to Clay Travis for 20 minutes. Right. So you guys can make fun of me or whatever about listening to Clay Travis, but Clay Travis is 60% right. He's got these 40% of takes that have an agenda, but he's got some cool stuff. But one of the guys he brings on is one of my favorite people to listen to football ever. And he's been on this podcast once, John McClain. John McClain from the Houston Chronicle. In fact, let's welcome him.
Reserved for emergency calls only.
Lady, do I sound like I wanted a pizza? Want money? What kind of terrorists are you? Little party, pal.
Welcome to the party, pal. John McClain, a.k.a. Die Hard. Houston Chronicle. Dude, he has covered the NFL for over 40 years. I could listen to this guy talk football all day long. Like he just knows so much about everything. And he's big and he's smart and he's just insightful.
Is he single?
Yeah, this is waxing poetically.
I know. He's cool though. Is that like he has just a lot of good takes and a lot of good stories and this and that. And he said this. He said, that he was going through the trade options when it comes to the Texans. And his thing is this, is he started out saying the Texans will not trade Deshaun Watson. And he said, I don't think that can be the case anymore. He's gone to the trade side now. But his point was originally is that why would you ever trade away something that you've been looking for since you were the Houston Oilers? Right? Since you were Warren Moon, he said that he was covering the Houston Oilers when the salary cap was first imposed in the NFL. And he was talking about how he was worried. Everybody's worried about how they were going to be able to afford him this and that. And the idea that they were talking about was, well, we just got to find our next franchise quarterback. And then he said 40 years later, we found our franchise quarterback with Deshaun Watson. Why would we let him go at this point? But he said, look, the relationship has become, it's just clear. Deshaun Watson wants out. And the good news for the Texans is Deshaun Watson is worth as much as he possibly could be worth right now. 25. He's coming off the greatest season, like a statistically improved season. Nothing. Watson's value cannot get higher than it is today. That was his. Go ahead.
But to that point, your man John McClain doesn't think that the Texans are going to trade him at all.
That was his first point. Now he says he's moved on, and he says that the way that the relationship, that now that he's met with Cully, Watson, he said, look, there is no way. He didn't say there's no way. He said this is that Watson doesn't want to be there. Now they're talking about him missing training camp, potentially sitting out. He could come in and play 4 games and get his money. So Watson only has to play 4 games to get like this year tenured.
Yeah, you get the credit for the year.
Yeah. And so then he can fake it. But he just said this is at this point the relationship is soured so much though.
Yeah.
Right, is that Watson doesn't want to be there, and after this year, he won't be worth as much.
Yeah.
Like he just can't be. He could get hurt. He could do all this, but you could get whatever you possibly want right now for Deshaun Watson. So he was saying this is that they don't want to do this, but now they might have to do it. And then his next point was this: is he said, "Who are the guys that are contenders for this?" He said the Jets and the Dolphins. And he went through and he said both of them have 2 first-round picks. Both of them have a quarterback to offer. They could then offer more too, because like the Jets have 19 picks in the next 2 drafts. The Jets have 6 picks by pick number 98 this year. And then his next point that I'm trying to get to is that the Panthers, who people have linked Deshaun Watson with, he said it doesn't make sense for the Texans. 8 is not cool enough when the Jets and the Dolphins can give you more, better, and a few, like a complete rebuild.
But once again, this is the same point as last week. It's not what the Texans want, because Deshaun Watson has to waive his no trade clause. He's only going to do that if he sends him to a team that he wants to go to. So it doesn't really matter what the Texans want. Unless Deshaun Watson gets what he wants, they're either not going to have him play or he's not going to get traded.
But if he wants out, right? I mean, look, Miami's 11-5. What are you going to say? He's going to be like, nah.
Yeah.
Not
I'm just saying it just seems like all the cards aren't in the hands for the franchise, for Houston Texans. I feel like Deshaun Watson still has the bulk of this leverage, because he can just say, no, I don't want to go there, and he won't go there.
But if they embrace the opportunity, they could get a lot out. And there was one other point too that I've heard is that Watson wanted either Bieniemy or Saleh.
Yeah.
And now Saleh is the coach in New York. So here is how I don't even know if the Panthers could be linked to Deshaun Watson in the trade talks when we could not give up. Look, the Jets got 2 first-round picks. The Dolphins, how do we match it?
We can.
How do we match it?
I mean, we can if we give up, like we said, something like 4 insane players and a bunch of picks. It'd be way too much money.
And then the 49ers have been putting out feelers, and now everybody knows we're thirsty. Right? So how and what happens? I am not good at these trade theories, but I have an idea. And it does not land Deshaun Watson in Carolina. It lands Zach Wilson in Carolina. And this is what, and you guys tell me, is this just ridiculous? What if it's a 3-way trade? The Carolina Panthers agree to a trade with the New York Jets where we give them 2 first-round picks, our 8 this year, our 1st next year, and you know what? You might even say like a 2nd or a 3rd the following year. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe even 2 first-round picks is not enough to move from 8 to 2. Right? What would be enough to move from 8 to 2? You tell me.
To move from 8 to 2, I think you're at least giving up 2 first-round picks. That's for sure.
A minimum.
Minimum 2. And see, that's another thing. I think Daniel Jeremiah, I was listening to him on the Rich Eisen show. I was watching a YouTube clip, and he was saying that what other teams would normally have to give up to get the 1st pick in the draft, that might be the cost for the number 2 pick this year. Because there's really like 4 elite level quarterbacks, and you have a bunch of teams in the top 10 and even outside the top 10 that are jockeying to get into that position to get one of those 4. That's why I think this market is really going to be crazy, because you do have a few teams that are sitting up there that do have the capability of moving down. Specifically the Dolphins and the Bengals, especially the Dolphins, if they don't get a chance to trade for Deshaun and you have to add more weapons for Tua, trade back, get a receiver, or get Micah Parsons or one of the best offensive linemen. The Bengals could do this. So you have a bunch of teams that are going to look to move up, and the Panthers, we're kind of
ahead of the pack. Yeah, you got to get ahead of the pack where other teams. So right now that you have to get in front of 4 to get a guy. Is that you're hoping a guy falls with at 8? Yeah, but is that it's really, if you're talking about Justin Fields, the Falcons at 4, go ahead and kiss your dreams goodbye about getting anything. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I feel. So so we give them, say, a minimum of 2 first, and then you got to throw in something else. You're going to have to throw in a 3rd or something, right? Because a 2 first isn't going to do it. But then, so that gets us to number 2. Then the Jets make a trade with the Texans where they give our 1st, the number 8, this year. They give them our 1st next year, so that's 2 firsts. Then they give them their 1st from this year and their 1st from next year, which still leaves them with 1 first-round pick this year. So the Jets would have Watson. They would still have a first-round pick. They would then have 4 more picks inside the top 98. They would still have next year, like all of this capital. They would not sacrifice. Oh, and they would throw in Darnold too. That was the other thing.
Okay.
Darnold. So the Texans would get 4 first-round picks, 2 this year, 2 next year, and Darnold. That's the minimum. I don't think we can deal with the Texans straight up. That's my point.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like what you did there, but I almost feel like it's not a 3-team trade. It's 2 separate trades. I feel like either one can happen without the 3rd team. I feel like Carolina could trade from 8 to 2 without the Texans even being involved. And I feel like the Texans could do that trade with the Jets without Carolina even being involved.
Right. So there's one point though that I think is important, is because that's what I was thinking too. Is like, why wouldn't the Jets trade straight with the Texans?
Yeah.
But then the Jets don't have to give away all their picks. They're actually giving away the Panthers picks.
Yeah. The only problem with that is at the end of the day, it still means that the Texans are trading their surefire franchise quarterback to go to number 8, which is a spot that is not guaranteed to replace said franchise quarterback. So again, like that's probably the only real issue with it.
Yeah, you're right.
And like the main thing is and you mentioned this before, Dolphins and the Jets, they have the picks, and they have a better. They have a quarterback under a rookie contract that they can trade. So yeah, we're kind of in a rock and a hard place. But
could you make the same pick work with the Dolphins too? Just trade Tua for Pennington and like do you think that would be
Pennington
or not Pennington? Pennington. Gosh, I'm going way back, aren't I? You know what it is? I've got my I was looking at my top set here. It's got Chad Pennington. Yeah. Wow.
Well, I have a question, and I've been thinking about it, and maybe this is just me being a hopeful, fan. But when you think about if you're the number 2 pick in the draft, right? Who is that number 2? Is it
Jets right now,
the Jets? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're the Jets, you have number 2, right? You can then decide to trade away all your picks, like for 3 years on your first round for Deshaun Watson, which we know is a surefire bet, right? A surefire thing. Or you don't mortgage your future and you get a quarterback that you fall in love with through the process of the draft, right? So, I mean, do you think that there is a chance? I mean, in all honesty, if they have a shot, if the Houston Texans tell them, if you trade me 3 first-round picks, including this year's pick, we'll give you Deshaun Watson, right? Even though that seems like a pretty, I'm not sure exactly the asking price as of late, but let's say that was it. You can then decide, all right, we can go that route, or I mean, we have Justin Fields, we have Zach Wilson, we have these guys that are at the pick of the litters that if Trevor Lawrence weren't in this draft would be considered the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. I mean, we can go that route, or we can mortgage the next 3 years first round picks. I mean, do you think there's a chance that these guys look at it from that perspective and say, is the level from what these guys have to offer to what Watson has to offer with the cap hit Watson has, is it worth the increase? Or is it worth the trading away the draft capital and the cap space?
That, sir, is the right question.
I think it is. You have
that is, yeah.
And this is why I don't think the Panthers can do it, is that the Panthers would have to mortgage the entire future for so long. Like, there's an argument that Houston wouldn't even be interested if you said, we'll give you our next 3 first, right? Houston might say, hey, it's not cool enough. I don't know what you're going to be next year. I don't want to deal. We could get the 2 here. We could get the 3 here from the Dolphins. And I think the Dolphins and the Jets have enough draft capital and equity where they could do that.
But you also got to think about it from the perspective of every Panthers fan that is not wanting the Deshaun Watson trade. Are they like at 8? Yeah, we're not getting the quarterback of our dreams, right? It's not impossible, but we're not getting that quarterback that we all want to see as a Carolina Panther at the 8th pick. But if you're a Jet and you're at number 2, Zach Wilson doesn't look bad. Justin Fields doesn't look bad. You have an option that isn't just like at 8, no option whatsoever. Like, I mean, we have Trey Lance. I mean, you have options, but you're not going to have that guy that you're thinking like every person in the fan base is going to be like, that's our guy, right? But at number 2 or even number 3 or number 4, you have that opportunity. So the 8th pick, where it may not necessarily be a high capital for the Houston Texans, the number 2 pick for the Jets is way more valuable, and is the value from Zach Wilson to Deshaun Watson worth 3 years of first round pick and the cap hit that they're going to take with Deshaun Watson. You have to have that. I mean,
the 3-team trade is where it's at because then they're just giving them all our picks. And they don't have to give up their picks. The last thing is the question, and we'll go to the calls here on this, is to think about this. Are the Dolphins really on Tua Tagovailoa, or are they throwing out, what's that stuff when you get attacked by evasive maneuvers? Are these evasive maneuvers by the Dolphins, the smoke screen, should I say, deflection, sleight of hand, saying we're with Tua to try to deflect? They're the opposite of the Panthers. The Panthers show their cards to you. The Dolphins are we love Tua, and then they're going to pick Zach Wilson or Trey Lance or something like that when the Jets are oh, we're going to run with Darnold. All right. Let's go to the calls.
Hey, well, before you start, 95 people watching, 47 thumbs up. Help your boys out, man. This helps us get seen by more people. The more you like the video, hit the thumbs up. Hell, if you hate us, Kyle L was in the chat talking mad shit about Tony Dunn for no reason all night. If you want to hit the thumbs down, do that shit too. Just interact. Hit the notification bell to get notified when we go live and upload new content, because we love the Carolina Panthers, and you do too. And we're going to keep talking about them. All right,
check the private chat real quick, CK. I'm going to have him. This is my new voice clip I want.
I'll just have to do it this way. Subscribers shame.
Thumbs it up, folks. You got shamed. All right. Here you go, QT0.
What's up, y'all? Been listening to the podcast for a couple months. First time calling in. But I do want to touch a little bit about
I've heard QT
on the last show. I know y'all talked a little bit about DJ Moore, his trade value, and how important he is to the Panthers.
QT, that's why.
I just want to touch a little bit. I think Cody was right on the money when he's talking about DJ Moore. He's really the kind of guy where fucking number one quarterback, a top flight quarterback can really unlock him and take his to the next level. I feel like we've seen DJ, and I might be a little biased. I've loved DJ since we drafted him. I always thought he could be the next Steve Smith, quote unquote, per se. But I really think that a number one quarterback can really take him to the next level. And I know the conversation y'all talked about really kind of shifted into a Robbie Anderson versus DJ Moore comparison of seasons. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I don't think there is much of a comparison. I know Bad Daddy was talking a little bit about they had the same season, the same stats. And he kind of glossed over the fact that DJ Moore had 97 more receiving yards with 30 less catches.
Yeah, way less receptions.
It's not comparable. If you got somebody with 1,193 receiving yards on 66 catches, and somebody with 1,096 receiving yards on 95 catches, they have about the same amount of yards, but that is not the same impact on the game that these guys are having. All right, not to mention DJ Moore played in one less game. All right, and he mentioned that DJ Moore was streaking down the field wide open hella times, and Teddy Bridgewater's not going to throw him the ball. If you got a fucking competent quarterback that can get the ball downfield, it throws to a wide open DJ Moore with 1,300 receiving yards rather than 1,100. So I'll just on that real quick. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson is not really a comparison there. Plus, y'all, I think we're forgetting DJ Moore is 23 years old. This man just breaking into his athletic prime. You put him with a top 15, even a top 10, whatever quarterback, and you could really see some special years for the next 6, 7, 8 years with DJ Moore.
Absolutely. I love this call.
So, I think he's damn near untouchable. But the real untouchable piece on this team is Brian Burns, just because of what he can do and where we got him. He's one of the top flight defensive ends in this league, I feel like, right now. And we got him in a position we got him with the 16th pick. We didn't have to spend a number 1 pick or a number 2 pick like a Von Miller or Myles Garrett or Jadeveon Clowney. So I think the real untouchable piece on this team right now is Brian Burns. I think he's really the only true untouchable one that I would not trade if you're talking about Deshaun Watson. But I just wanted to touch on that a little bit too. jumping around a little bit, and then we did talk about. I know y'all did talk about.
He might have another call. Tony, he was bringing you and Bat Daddy to task. He was agreeing with me, saying DJ Moore. He is another guy that is going to blow up and be a household name once he gets a damn good quarterback throwing him the football. And I was tough on DJ Moore when we first drafted him. I felt like he wasn't a complete receiver. I felt like he didn't make a lot of separation at the top of his drops. He ran a lot of banana routes. And basically, that's when you curve into your route instead of cutting, stopping on a dime, and then turning to try and get real separation. He used to have those issues. But, guys, DJ Moore has worked so hard to become the best possible version of himself, to actually be the true heir apparent to Steve Smith on the Carolina Panthers. Like, my man has been working his ass off, almost all for nothing, with the hurt Cam Newton, Kyle Allen, Taylor Heineke, and now Teddy Bridgewater, man. I maintain
he's taken that damn beating. He's put his body on the line. I don't have anything against DJ. And I think he's very good. And in fact, I want to give a shout out to the Sports Nut on Twitter at ATH2088, not 20, but 2 letter O 88. He said this, also the slander on DJ Moore last week. What the heck? I think he's talking to me. This guy is a true number one. Was listening to the guys from the draft dudes the other day. Their comp for him is Hopkins. Look at his stats in his first 3 years versus the first 3, I guess, of Hopkins is what he was saying. And he went on to say that ultimately that he's done this with Kyle Allen, Teddy Bridgewater. He's 1,000. And I think that's all wonderful. I think he's a good, if not great player. Will he and can he be the best receiver in the league? I don't know. That's kind of hard to say. He's been very productive. He's been available, right? Another big deal.
He's better than Panther fans and some non-Panther fans think he is.
Yeah.
I just think what I really agree with the caller is this is easier to replace him. And he wasn't saying this, but he was saying the irreplaceability of Brian Burns. And that is my singular point here, is that if we had an opportunity to get Deshaun Watson and it's a DJ Moore thing, I feel like we can find a way to replace DJ Moore a lot easier than we could vice versa. Not trying to take away from his game and this and that. He has not got the physical stature so he's not a mega, like he's a ball. He's got this great after the catch. There's a certain fight in him, but there are early in the season, he seems to kind of be sluggish in the beginning. Maybe it was just this year where he kind of, he had some drop passes early on and some different things. And Robbie Anderson took the show over for a little bit, and then it became the DJ Moore show. But there is a great point is that, and we said this a lot when it came to Steve Smith, is that it's terrible to watch a great receiver on a shitty team. Yeah. And Steve Smith, if you would have put him on the 2009, 2010, 2011 Indianapolis Colts with Peyton Manning, this dude would have been first ballot Hall of Famer. He was is like he. So I don't got a problem with DJ. I also don't like what you guys say though about DJ and Curtis being a good tandem together. I don't think that's right either. And that's kind of my point I don't want a duplication of talents. And he's a smaller statured guy. He is stocky and strong and this and that, but he's not a go up in the corner and throw it over the top guy.
But I mean, you also can't prove that they're not good together. I mean, what's true for one is also true for the other. I have maintained that if we had a healthy Cam Newton and Cam Newton can still throw the deep balls, like forget what you saw with Cam Newton and Ted Ginn. Like him and Curtis Samuel could have been money, but you just, dude, things, the stars didn't align. And I maintain too that, I hope that we can salvage DJ Moore's career. I do not think we're going to retain Curtis Samuel, and I'll bet you everything Curtis Samuel goes somewhere else and has a career resurgence. No. If he's able to get a quarterback,
he was great last year. What are you talking about, a resurgence?
But again, he plays for the Panthers, so it doesn't fucking mean anything. They don't have over 5 touchdowns in a year. That's why no one in the national media talks about these guys. That's why I made the comparison. DJ Moore is similar to DeAndre Hopkins. And that only sounds crazy right now just because DJ hasn't had a Deshaun Watson throwing the rock at him. But if he did, then you would all of a sudden be able to tell what kind of receiver we have in DJ. And I think that's true for Curtis also.
I think that we need to play a word game here where it's not a matter of how am I trying to word this? They had the opportunity. They had the opportunity to be a great team. Because I don't want to say missed opportunity because it's just, we've heard that too much.
Bad memories. Yeah.
Yeah. We had the opportunity, but they haven't done it. So you can't say, well, they haven't not proven it yet. No, they have not proven it. They've been together a few years. They have not proven they can be the most elite team, duo wide receiver. Granted, you're right. They haven't had a quarterback. But you can say that for anything, man. Oh, if this person would have had this running back with them, they would have, done this, or this DB would have been. You can say that anytime. How can you
look at this year with Teddy Bridgewater and say they didn't have one of the most electrifying offenses as far as a wide receiver duo when both of them had over 1,000 yards and they had Teddy Bridgewater throwing on the ball?
No, they had a great year. I'm not denying that at all. But I'm saying for people saying that they are like an elite team, they're not like it's like I said, nobody fears DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel.
I don't think
you don't hear about. I don't think anybody does, man. I mean, you never hear about it. You never hear about. Okay, maybe teams do on a level where they're going to play them, but you never hear anybody talk about it. I guess the media or anybody talk about it.
I get what you're saying. Like I said, that makes a difference. Yeah.
Even if they were a team that only produced what they produced with the 10 touchdowns between the two of them, if they were somebody that struck fear in the hearts of people, they'd be talked about more.
And by the way, that's why I guarantee you that Curtis Samuel is going to be a hot ticket on the free agent market. I'll bet you anything. All the people that watch film and see what dude, that's a real. He was coached by Urban Meyer at Ohio State, and now, dude, if you see Curtis Samuel with Trevor Lawrence throwing him the football, dude, I'm telling you, you will not recognize the kind of player. I made the comparison, and people scoffed at it, that Curtis Samuel could have been our own version of Tyreek Hill.
I think you're getting me wrong though here, because I was so hype on Curtis Samuel when the Panthers drafted him. Like I was. This is the Tyreek Hill. That's what I mean. I'm telling you, go back and check the tape. I was all over this, and I was defending it. I was hoping for it, and the Panthers just never could, under the Ron Rivera regime, figure out how to use it. I would say last year, Joe Brady did the best we've seen with utilizing Curtis Samuel in his entire tenure.
Well, I think it's also an unfair comparison with him because he was injured for a good portion of his first 2 years.
Well, yeah, he struggled with a hamstring. Then he had
but that's all part of the game, y'all. I mean, Cody, what you're saying, if some buts, or no, that's not what you're saying. If my aunt had an uncle, or if my aunt had nuts, she'd be my uncle. Yeah, I mean, we can say that anytime, of course. If this had happened, but it hasn't. And we can't judge somebody on potential and say they're a great player because they had potential.
Is that what the draft is?
I don't even have a problem.
We don't think they're great players in the draft. We hope they're great players.
I don't have a problem. You can say DJ Moore is the dopest ever. You can say Curtis Samuel is the dopest ever. Here is the thing that I keep coming back to, is that we saw a Carolina Panthers team that was small at receiver go and get Kelvin Benjamin one year, and then Devin Funchess, And they went from they were undersized at receiver, so now they go oversized. And I felt like this is that Funchess wasn't terrible. Benjamin wasn't terrible until he just quit playing football.
Yeah.
And started eating donuts or whatever. I just want Curtis Samuel and a 6'5" receiver together. I just don't want 2'6". That's the thing. I don't want a guy. I mean, yes, is that I'm not saying that they can't work together.
Yeah.
But why I think Curtis Samuel alongside of Devontae Adams. Oh shit. Whoa.
Yeah.
You got a guy that can be a possession receiver and stretch the field and can run every route in the route tree in Devontae Adams. And then you throw in this mug that's can do all this versatile stretch the field, yak stuff. That's what I'm just trying to say when it comes to Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore. Is not that together, like either one of them is bad. No, both of them, but it's like, do they complement each other in the most perfect way? And you could even say that Robbie Anderson isn't the greatest compliment to these guys because kind of their skill set theoretically is going deep.
They're all very similar in nature. I don't think anyone would disagree with you, and I think that's why all of their stats,
like Jason.
But that's also and that's also why their stats looked pretty similar comparatively. Same kind of player. I think it also hurt us that we didn't have a functional tight end for most of the season that we could depend on.
Yeah.
Yes. But let's hit some more calls.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
Yo, this Teddy Bridgewater shit is fucking hilarious. I can't wait till this dude's off our team, man. He really had me like mad at our wide receivers at one point. Like I was getting mad at like DJ Moore for dropping those touchdowns and whatnot, but those were like amazing catches if he was even to get there and whatnot. Like every single one of these wide receivers had to do some amazing shit to catch the ball. Like every single Curtis Samuel first down on third down was a bad throw that Curtis Samuel had to dislocate his shoulder blade and fucking break a couple rib bones to fucking reach out to get those fucking first downs. And now him doing that is going to get him off this team because he's last with so much money. We need Deshaun Watson, point blank and simple. And I feel like that would be the only way we can even get all these people to re-sign on our team like Taylor Moton, Curtis Samuel, and do it or get like some discounts or some type of way for them, to actually get a Super Bowl running team. If we don't got a good quarterback, what the fuck's the point of a motherfucker even playing on our team unless they get a check? Because we're not getting a Super Bowl with Teddy. So Cali's out. You know what I mean? QT0.
I like that.
QT0, man. Shout out to you, bro.
Second half of the first time caller who was ringing in with the big time call of the night so far. Here's part 2.
What's up, y'all? It's Corey again. Second half of my call. Last thing I want to touch on, I know y'all talked about it real quick about the Buccaneers and the 2015 Panthers and all that shit. And I'm not gonna, go as far as to say that, the 2015 Panthers would for sure beat the Bucs if they played in the Super Bowl. But they would have a hell of a lot better chance.
Amen.
And I'm just going really based off of Cam, what he can do by himself without having to have too much time in the pocket or they literally drew a place for Cam by himself. I know our offensive line wasn't the best. Von Miller fucking showed us that. But when you have somebody who can directly snap in the ball and get you 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 yards, whatever, I think they can get a little bit more done than the Chiefs did. And not to mention, when you talk about the 2015 Panthers defense, 43-year-old Tom Brady, he's not putting 31 up on that defense. Straight up. 43-year-old Tom Brady is not making that defense look like that. He played against the Saints. He looked shitty against the Saints. The only reason they beat the Saints is because Drew Brees was fucking of himself. I almost felt bad seeing him throw all those picks. Like I was watching him, I was like, damn, it's kind of tough, man.
Over.
I almost felt bad for Drew Brees, but I remember it was Drew Brees in the Saints, so fuck them. But
that logic.
Tom Brady's not putting up that amount of points on the Carolina Panthers defense, and the only reason he beat the Saints is because Drew Brees was looking like a shit show. So I feel like the 2015 Panthers and the 2020 Bucs would be a really good game. And I mean, shit, we got a shot. We damn sure got a shot. But I just wanted to, you know what I'm saying, touch on a little bit of stuff right here. First call. Y'all keep it the good work, man. I'm loving the podcast. Loving everything I hear so far. Man, fuck it, man. Hopefully we can get Deshaun. But fuck.
Hey, appreciate you, Corey. Great
Corey,
call.
of the night, man. The number's 252-228-5098. We appreciate that. And I agree with him, Cody, I said it, I think, right after the Super Bowl, is that the Bucs they won the Super Bowl. They were the best team this year. In the last game, the Kansas City Chiefs were hobbled on offensive line, which made it more difficult as they had more weapons than anything on the Bucs, but they did not.
Rivers to the rescue.
It didn't look like the most dominant Super Bowl team I've seen. That's all I was trying to say, is that, like, and I think that makes a good point, is that would they look that fantastic? And I don't even think they look that fantastic. Look, man, Patrick Mahomes, that was a couple of points, man. Could have had them right back in it. There's some crazy stuff.
Hey, we were talking about tight ends a minute ago. And Brad
Rudolph. Good segue. Take it on. Tell us what you want to talk about.
Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Kyle Rudolph, and David Njoku, all tight end free agents available next year.
Yeah, we should talk about this. I think this is probably, Panther Nation. Yeah, one of the things that we've come to learn, I feel like, over the past few years, there are very few moments when Panther Nation is in lockstep on certain things, like where everybody kind of unanimously agrees.
Yeah.
As we've all seen, this is kind of up and down, right, as far as who people like and who people want to pay. But one of the things I think that we can all agree on is that we would prefer to use free agency to upgrade the tight end position. And I want to shout out Brad Dugan in the chat. He brought up and mentioned, David Njoku, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith is out there. There are some legitimate.
Kyle Rudolph, the news today, the Vikings after 10 years with Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah, and I mean that would be perfect for us, man. It's a way to. So it not only does it help us out by one, filling a great position of need for us, but it's another position that we don't have to fill in the draft. We're not having to. I know Tony doesn't like drafting tight ends anyway, unless it's the 4th round or later. But I get everybody has their own little draft rules. I get it. I'm not even saying I disagree too much from that opinion. But I do think that Jonnu Smith is a super athletic tight end. Kyle Rudolph is a really good possession tight end and is tough as hell. Burned the Saints in the Superdome. I think 2 years back now. So he's good in my book, man. I do think that this should be part of where our free agent money goes. I think we could.
I like that. This is why I like that, is that I don't know. OJ Howard too.
Yes, that's another one I'd love to look at. I wanted to draft him when
he's coming off a major injury, but. What I like about this is that in free agency, what are the most expensive? If you were going to go and buy a position, the most expensive are quarterback, number 1, tackle, number 2, defensive end, number 3, maybe. I mean, actually, number 3 might be cornerback even,
or wide receiver too.
Is that and then
corner? I think.
Yeah, is that it, right? And then the corner, and then you hit the kind of this wide receiver era. I almost feel like you can get by. Look at what the Saints have done at tight end for the last 10 years. They always got somebody coming in, whether it was Ben Watson?
Ben Watson, yeah.
So then they got another dude from the Chargers or something like that. Is that, hey, if you're gonna, and you might pay $1 million or $2 more than you want to typically pay a tight end, but you don't have to invest an 8th pick or 12. And honestly, if you're gonna pick a tight end at 8, OJ Howard, did he live up to it? No. When was the last time a 1st round tight end pick lived up to it. I feel like when we talk about tight ends, we always talk about the guys who were third round picks that all of a sudden became. It was Kittle a first round pick? That would be my question. And then the last point I was going to make is this: Kyle Pitts, Cody, he ain't even a tight end.
Look, my man Brad Dugan is in the chat. His avatar is the Florida Gator. So I might and really I'm not even shitting on Kyle Pitts. My thing is this. Yeah, you're 100% right, Tony Dunn. My man is not a tight end. I mean, my man is not a tight end. Like, listen, if you're never, and by the way, he is probably the best, like what you're talking about, wanting to complement your other smaller receivers. Like, dude, Kyle Pitts is that. Like, there is no other receiver in this draft that is, in my opinion, better at just going up and getting the football. I mean, he really does. He high points the ball well. He's tall, 6'6", and he runs really good routes. Like, how about this? Kyle Pitts is everything that we wanted Devin Funchess to be. Okay, an actual good route runner who with actual speed and uses his physicality well against against cornerbacks. My problem is this though. You are never going to put Kyle Pitts on your offensive line on third down in pass protection. You're never going to do it. You almost never see him run blocking on the second level. He doesn't pull block for his quarterback or his running back. So, yeah, like he is not my tight end number one just because he doesn't do everything that a tight end should do. Right now, until I see more film, I have Pat Freiermuth out of Penn State as my number one tight end in this class. The dude has been compared to a young Gronk. I mean, he is a big, brawling mofo, and he will put you in the dirt. He runs good routes. He's not as athletic as Kyle Pitts, but he is a big, powerful man that goes up and catches the ball. He's tough. He fights for yards after contact. And I don't see any of that in Kyle Pitts. So whenever you see people putting Kyle Pitts as like a top 15, top 10 pick, dude, that is outlandish. That is outlandish. You should never, ever spend that kind of draft capital on a tight end, much less one that doesn't block. And I'm not trying to shit on
it. What if you're spending it on a wide receiver, though? What if you just say this is Kyle Pitts is a tight end in college, but he's a wide receiver in the NFL?
He's definitely a top 4 receiver in this class.
Right. And so then I'll start talking to you about some stuff like that. But the tight end has too many responsibilities beyond. You got to have them being able to do. Look, we've had a tight end the last couple of years who can only block. His name is Chris Manhertz.
And honestly, that's why it's so important. Honestly, you say you don't want to draft a tight end in the first round. I went back and looked at it every year all the way back to 2004. These are first round draft picks, tight ends. TJ Hawkinson, Hayden Hurst, OJ Howard, Evan Ingram, Hunter Henry, Eric Ebron, Tyler Eifert, Kobe Fleener, Kyle Rudolph, Jermaine Grisham, Darren Keller, Greg Olsen, Vernon Davis. Like, those are all pretty good. I'd take any one of those guys.
Read the list. Let's get through it real quick. All right, read it again.
TJ Hawkinson, Hayden Hurst.
All right. Do you really feel like he's that? What number did he go?
You know, he's a solid.
Yeah, he went at number 8.
Oh, he's very good. I'm saying he's not good. Dude, he's great, especially.
Yeah. And Noah Fant went 20th. I'm saying if you know a tight end's name, then they're probably worth their weight in salt. If you don't know who the tight end's name is, you probably. I guarantee most people don't know Ian Thomas.
Read it one more time. Read the list.
TJ Hawkinson, Hayden Hurst, OJ Howard, Evan Ingram, Hunter Henry, Eric Ebron, Tyler Eifert, Kobe Fleener, Kyle Rudolph, Jermaine Gresham, Brandon Pettigrew, Dustin Keller, Greg Olsen, Vernon Davis.
if we leave off Vernon Davis and Greg Olsen because they had such long careers, also went to other teams. Vernon Davis was balling out in San Francisco on a shitty ass team, so I'll give him credit. Greg Olsen
Tyler Eifert was good until he kept on getting hurt.
Yeah, he was real good.
Broke his neck or something.
It's a very dependent position.
Olsen,
it's a very important one.
His second stop, but Olsen was good in his second stop. But I would argue this is that all the other names that you have read have not had more than really one great year.
I could argue Eric Ebron's had a great career. Hunter Henry's had a few good years.
Eric Ebron,
he's a journeyman. He led the league in drops. All right, so
he had maybe 2 good years. One at Detroit and one in the Colts, and then he got dropped from both.
Okay. Who else has had multiple good years? Evan Ingram, good in fantasy, good in theory.
Hunter Henry, Kyle Rudolph, Jermaine Gresham.
Hunter Henry hurt, but a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Can I also just mention though, like I'm on both sides of this argument because, like, if you look at, for example, the New England Patriots for the past 2 decades, dude, they would kill teams with 2 tight end sets. Leave a running back, 2 receivers, and 2 tight end sets.
Yeah.
Dude, you have so many options at the line of scrimmage to be able to check into different plays. Now, all of a sudden, those tight ends become blockers. If the quarterback sees a look that he wants, I mean, it really does open up a lot of different avenues of your offense. A good tight end is incredibly valuable. But again, like a lot of these things, they're not hard rules for me. It's not that you never draft a tight end in the first or you never draft a safety. It's how your team is built. Sometimes a really good tight end prospect might just be what the doctor ordered, and it's a good value if you're sitting
top 10.
Whatever in the not top 10. I'd say like in the first round. In the first round.
All right, so
in the 20s, yeah. If you're picking in the top 10, you have a lot more problems than just a tight end.
Jason Lewis said this: Greg Olsen had 3 1,000-yard seasons back to back. How dare you forget Greg Olsen's prime? And it's actually Greg Olsen's career that truly made me believe this, is kind of adopt this. And I know this, you're gonna be like, what? He was great. Joe Riolano, is that he was a first round pick, but it was in the same year.
It was 2004.
No, 08 or
you're talking about Greg Olsen?
Greg Olsen. See, when Greg Olsen, it was the same year that Maurice Claiborne came out.
Yeah, it was 2007.
And Joe Riolano and I, the founder of this podcast, Joe Riolano, the freaking Puerto Rican, he was like, we need a corner so bad. We need a corner. And he wanted Maurice Claiborne, and he also wanted Olsen. Like, these are these 2 things. Like, he's like looking at these guys. Like, and I remember him just talking in my ear. And then I remember Maurice Claiborne turned out to be the dumbest person in the world. He got like a 2. He like broke the Wonderlic test. He also, I mean, maybe he didn't try. And then Greg Olsen went high, and he went like right either a pick before us or pick after, something like this. And he went to the Bears, and he wasn't bad. It wasn't him, but it took 2 years for him to flirt. We got him in a trade for like a 5th. And so it's not I'm not saying that tight ends don't have an effect. I'm not saying that George Kittle and Kelsey, I'm not saying these guys aren't phenomenal and game changers. It just seems like look at what they put in OJ Howard. Look what they put in Hunter Henry. Look what they put, even Jimmy Graham, arguably very short window of very, very great play. I just don't think it's like Cody's argument with the salary cap and paying a running back for me.
Yeah.
It's the same exact argument that Cody makes for the salary cap and paying a running back. I think Christian McCaffrey's a phenomenal player, but Cody thinks he's overpaid. I think Greg Olsen was a phenomenal tight end, but I think maybe
he was overdrafted.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Well, you got to like 31st, didn't he?
If Mac Jones goes at 7 or 6, He might be a fantastic quarterback, but I feel like you're gambling a lot. Like I feel like it's like kind of like what Will Grier was for us, is that third is just too high. It's not that Will Grier might not be a good quarterback. Like, why'd you do it?
It's Mr. Trubisky.
Had him at a another
It's Mr. Trubisky. Yep.
Yeah. All right, next call.
Yeah, last night I was watching the podcast that had you four guys on there.
Mm.
And you were talking about the picking 8 and being number 8 in the money category. But then I see something on there this morning. Y'all are contradicting yourself, talking like they botched it in the money department this year. And come on, guys, you all over the board now. Help us out.
All right,
a little more specific. But
no, is
he talking about the fact that we have overpaid like Shaq Thompson and Christian McCaffrey and things like that, whereas even our cap is where it's at. Yeah, I mean, I get the point. You know, you're not wrong in the the assessment of what we were saying, but I think it might be taken out of context a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Is that you have to look at these things a little holistically. Or is that's what I would suggest? I don't care what you do. Is that I think that you should. Is that what we're kind of looking at? Is that there's some contracts right now that have. Let me put it this way: is that this is the best year the Panthers have been positioned in free agency. The best year we've been positioned in free agency, and we're not that great of a position. We're just in an okay position. We were screwed. We were very much screwed by the salary cap coming down this year. Had the salary cap gone up as it has since 2012. You know, when I first started this podcast, the salary cap was $112 or $120 million. Right. So think about that. Is that we are at 175 at the low end, 185 at the high end at what they're projecting. But the cap came down when for the last 8 years it's gone up because the league did not make the revenue that it usually. The way the cap is determined is how much the league revenue makes. And so if the NFL, and because of the pandemic, the league was profitable, I would assume, but not as profitable as they normally are, which kind of dictates the cap. And I think that this is that we have we do have a little cash, but I said this is that $32 million ain't nothing in the NFL. We could spend that in 2 players.
No, and listen, look, you have to be able to hold 2 opposing positions in your head at once. The Panthers are not in a terrible position. We do have good money, and we do have a top 10 draft pick. No one is disputing that. But to say that we couldn't be in a much better position, if not for some really bad incompetency on the part of our front office and ownership, and but just the contracts that we've signed, not knowing when to deal players at the right time, not taking advantage of the trade market, it has left us in a worse position than what we could be in. Like I mentioned before, we could have the 3rd pick in the draft. We could have an extra pick if we would have traded Curtis Samuel. Because, look, I'll just go ahead and state my claim now. Curtis Samuel isn't coming back. He isn't coming back, and we should have traded him and got something for him. And I'm a huge Curtis Samuel fan. But we didn't have a competent GM that could do those kinds of things and prepare yourself for the future and building more capital for a rebuilding football team. These 2 ideas don't contradict themselves. They're both true. We are in a good position, but could be in a much better.
I would say a decent position. I don't even think we're in a great position. Look at some of the other teams. We're 8th in the league. We're 8th in the league, and who's the last dude we signed? Teddy Bridgewater. We can't sign Taylor Moton. We're not signed. We signed Robbie Anderson. We signed him too.
Oh yeah, and then you signed a running back to the most money ever paid at the position, and you pay an outside linebacker who isn't a pass rusher. It's the dumbest shit.
Those are the least problematic to me. I'm still thinking Matt Khalil. sucking money off the books. I'm thinking about this is that you did pay this running back all of this money, and then you drafted over the last 4 years like 4 running backs and cut them habitually for no reason. Jordan Scarlett, I think, is another one. It's this is, do we feel we're in we weren't a great team this year? And you look at, we scoff at the Jaguars. I look at the Jaguars, I go, damn, how can you be a fan of that team? I look at the Jets fans, I'm you poor bitches. Right? And I say this, and then I look over at the team and they got 19 draft picks and $7 million.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what?
You're just in the media, like Cody's greatest fear. Where are we at? Right in the middle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's not even like 8. Okay. 8th pick, 8th. It's nothing's great, nothing's terrible.
And can I say one last thing about this real quick? To this notion that, oh, you never tank. It's never a good idea to tank. You don't do it. It adds toxicity to your culture. It does all these terrible things. One, you can tank from a front office standpoint, and you're not asking your players to go out there and lose on purpose. Number 2, who do you think has a brighter future just looking at the draft picks they have, the money they have, and the current team they have? Who do you think the national media at large would say has a brighter future? The Jacksonville Jaguars, who did pull off a successful tank, or the Carolina Panthers, who couldn't if they tried?
Yeah.
Well, there's 2 sides to that coin, Cody. There's one side, and this is one thing. This is why I've been 100% anti-tank, is that we are a 26, 27-year-old franchise, right? We are just getting into our second generation of fans. I just don't know if we have the kind of history of a team to withstand terribleness for so long, right? And but Jacksonville has.
Jacksonville came out the same year we did, right?
Think about Cleveland. Think about these poor motherfuckers. Or the Bills, who, yes, did go to 4 Super Bowls in a row, but it's been 20-something years. Imagine if it was 20 years since we had a playoff win. What would you be saying about the Carolina Panthers? How hard would it be to do this podcast? And I'm almost thankful that the Carolina Panthers were linked to Deshaun Watson. Even if it's the most farcical far cry of a dream ever, it gave us some sort of hope and merit and something to talk about. Right now, we don't want to languish, like you've said, in mediocrity, but I don't think that being terrible, we could withstand being terrible for 10 years.
But again, you're not talking about being terrible for 10 years. You're talking about I'm not talking about being them though.
The Dolphins have been all the teams.
That's not the point. I'm saying when you have to flip your future, when you have a roster that isn't going to win you a Super Bowl, you have to transform that roster. The Jacksonville Jaguars knew that at the start of this season. They said, "Yeah, fuck it, man. We're gonna start Gardner Minshew. Oh yeah, we're gonna cut Leonard Fournette. We're gonna trade away Jalen Ramsey. We're just, dude, it's a fire sale."
I don't think that's an accurate represenation of what happened this season.
But it's not. It really is, dude.
It's not. They traded for Foles last year.
That was 2 years ago. I'm talking about this. They had the number.
Like identifying players that were kind of problem players. Jalen Ramsey was such a.
Oh no!
If they produce, you put up with it. You know, the Antonio Brown's still in the league.
Being in Jacksonville, and you know what? Maybe he needed to do that. Maybe he's just smart enough to say, "Fuck this place, I gotta go." Right. So I'm gonna be a giant dick. Right. But they have the player. It's not good there. The fans is struggling.
But they're changing it. That's why it doesn't matter, because you're changing all the shit anyway. You
It's
have a
also
brand
in
new coach.
Florida.
Everybody has brand new everything. So but you're just trying to flip your roster and get young talent. And they did that. They have the number 1 pick in the draft. They have a bunch of draft salary cap money to spend. And like they have all these other picks that they're going to be able to use to build their team. Like if they do that right, they could be a good team next year.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's taking one bad year, having a down year, and you know it's going to be a down year, and then using all that capital to build up and revamp your football team. It's doing that so you don't have to continuously be a mediocre football team.
That's where we agree. We could have found a middle ground a little bit on this. You know, like you said, you realize things aren't going well. Let's start Curtis Samuel trade. Let's start doing some different things like that, because we understand that's not happening. It was almost like the Panthers had this weird mythical dream that they were going to be able to find a way to put together a 9-7 season.
Yeah, every year we draft and we spend our free agency with that mindset that we're just a few players, just a few picks away, and we weren't.
Cody, I got to go back and poke holes in your thing right there, your argument talking there with the Jags. You're right; they did a good job tanking, but it wasn't one bad year and then they're back onto the top. Right. They've won 2 playoff games in 26 years.
Yeah, look,
2 playoff games in 26 years.
That isn't lost on me.
Okay.
My point being is that the Jacksonville Jaguars didn't take this season as an important season that they have to win. And you have to win. Because you know what? This season, nothing benefited them more than losing. And that's just a fact.
Yeah. Well,
let me ask you, out of honest curiosity, when has a team that has honestly intentionally tanked come out on top?
This year, the Jaguars.
We don't know that.
What he's saying is
we don't know that.
We don't know they're going to be great.
It does seem like they got. You know what? I tell you, one team we saw try to intentionally tank and then fuck it up right at the end was the Jets and the Panthers. And the Panthers, 2 teams that aren't good at least the Jaguars are good at tanking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what
I would argue there's a team that's better at tanking than the Jaguars, and the Browns.
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
you know, and the Browns have been.
They finally have accumulated so many picks and good players. Like it's hard for them to be awful.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, I mean, that's where we're talking about is, do we want to be a perpetually bad team in order to be the Browns?
I don't think, and this is where
the Browns did make it to the AFC Championship game this year, didn't they?
I think
they didn't make it to the AFC Championship. But what I'm saying is, like, how many years has it taken for them to get to that point?
They did.
They did make it to the AFC Championship.
No, they didn't. It was right before. It was the Bills.
But they almost won as well.
It was the Bills and it was the Bills and the Chiefs.
Exactly.
That's right.
Look, I think there's a kind of a middle ground on both of this, right? Is that I agree with you. Is that like tanking is hard.
Mm-hmm.
When I say is that it's not generally a single year team, and I think Cody is making a great point on that.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that being bad at being good and being bad at tanking is almost worse than anything. Right. Is that like why the whole Teddy Bridgewater to win 5? Like our cap is worse. We got no leverage. We got this, and guess how many games we won? Not shit.
Not enough.
Mm-hmm.
We were already we were tanking and we tried. It's like you have an artery that's cut and you're like, hand me that Band-Aid.
Yeah, basically.
That's the difference. The Jaguars would just bleed out.
Yeah.
Amputate it.
Just buy a new one.
Right.
Hey, real quick, you said you couldn't imagine what it's going to be like for the Panthers to go 10 years without his playoff win and how it's going to affect the fan base.
I couldn't
we're halfway there, Tony.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2017, right? We made the playoffs.
Did we win a playoff game?
was it where we wild card and it was that last second throw by Cam to a no-name dude that was like working at like the damn Costco.
Yeah, the comeback. Was it against Atlanta that we're playing? I can't remember.
No, the Saints, I think, right?
Saints. Okay, yeah, I knew it was an NFC South team. Yeah, but yeah, well, we're halfway there, man. 5 years, no playoff wins for Carolina.
Cody, tell them what it takes to always be in it every Sunday.
It takes a quarterback that you know is going to put you over the edge, and we do not have that guy. But guess what?
You could trot out us 4 on special teams, and you'd be like, "Oh no, they got Cody in a wheelchair. They got Tony, who this John Lewis guy or whatever the fuck his name was. What was his name? It wasn't John Lewis. He's cool. It was like Kyle, whatever that guy. Kyle L thinks Tony's the worst fucking gunner in the whole history of the world. Yeah, I will walk out there and take a nap. And you know what? Is that we would be better with a quarterback that we knew could do it than with Teddy Bridgewater. Sorry.
I have a better arm than Teddy Bridgewater.
Right.
Straight up.
All right.
I bet you I can hit a softball further too, you pussy.
Brothers, how y'all doing? This is G Cavassier.
Yeah, what's up, G?
Hey, man. What a week went by. I'm glad to be back on the podcast. As usual, there's no news in Pantherland. You know, I keep seeing these, these draft boards of people, doing little mock draft boards and everything like that. I keep saying I want Zach Wilson, but honestly, I really, really see him being gone before 8. And I am not willing to trade up for the number 2 pick to get him either. When it comes to quarterbacks, like I said before, the boy out of Dakota, man. His name Trey Lance or his name is. That dude is something.
I agree. I got a crush.
He can learn to read defenses. He'll be deadly as hell, man. Because he has the arm talent. The dude can scramble. He's sort of like a baby Cam. I'm not trying to be Cam Newton up, but to me he does.
I agree with
just
that.
A little
baby
bit,
Cam.
Just a little bit. But I can see him falling to number 8.
Colin Kaepernick.
Again, you never know come draft day.
What about that?
Never know. Because last year I thought we was gonna pick up Simmons, Isaiah Simmons, whatever. I did not see Derek Brown being the Carolina Panther, but hey, he did, and he did what he had to do this year. So I'm still up in the air with the Deshaun Watson trade. We're trying to get him. I'm not really trying to get rid of Christian McCaffrey, but honestly, I'm just trying to win right now. And you see what David Tepper said. He said he would do whatever it takes, So I don't know if that means Christian McCaffrey and.
You think David Tepper's back in the back of the office of the Houston Texans giving out handies?
I really don't know, but I truly believe something about to happen soon. I just have that feeling. I really do. With this new GM, I can really see something getting ready to happen. So give me your thoughts on that. Keep pounding.
What do you think about Colin Kaepernick and Trey Lance kind of having some similarities?
I can't remember how strong Kaepernick's arm was, but I think Trey Lance may have a stronger arm, like he can get more air under the ball.
Kaepernick had a cannon.
Did he?
Yeah,
I can't remember
like
how good it was. Yeah,
I always thought he was like a little skinnier Cam.
But you know what's funny? Like they just say that. I mean, okay, there are some similarities in the play style, but they're also both mixed guys. And it's like I feel like a lot of people do that too.
I did that earlier with my
Like
quarterback.
this,
brought up Colin Kaepernick and Trey Lance until I did.
Well, I mean, look, I actually don't think it's a terrible comparison because they're both fat. They're both fast as hell. They're both strong as fuck. But I would say, even though it's been a limited amount of tape, I think Trey Lance shows a lot more accuracy and a much better ability to read defenses and move off of one option and go to the next and continue moving. He has a better feel for the pocket. Like a lot of times, whenever you're a mobile quarterback and you don't choose to just take off and run, and you actually stand in the pocket, and you have the option to run, but you have enough wherewithal to sit, wait an extra second, wait for your receiver to come open, and throw that football. Colin Kaepernick wouldn't do a whole lot of that. I have seen Trey Lance do that more than once.
Yeah, well,
that's
plus
why I
Trey
like
Lance wants to play. That's a big thing. Wanting to play is a big thing. So.
I think that I like that because that's what I said earlier. And I don't watch. I watched a couple of YouTube games, bro. It's not like I'm a scout. None of this.
Right.
It just didn't look like their game was predicated on him running entirely, and his first instinct was not to run. That's just what I liked about it. It was like this, like I can run. I think of it kind of like an Aaron Rodgers type quality. Is Aaron Rodgers can do everything. He can run. He used to be able to run like crazy and do all this. But his first instinct was to kind of, maybe even Russell Wilson in some degrees was like this. I wonder if another comp could kind of be a Marcus Mariota type player. And look, don't worry. You can call into the show. The number's 252-228-5098. You can smash the thumbs up button. You can smash the thumbs down button. And you can be like this dude.
Hey, Chronicle, let the other guys talk for a little bit. Just shut up.
That's your boy, John L.
That's your boy. He loves you, man. Dude, every time he comes into the chat, it's always just to talk shit about you, man.
And it lights the chat room on fire too.
I hope your mom isn't in the chat room, but I think in high school you may have fucked that guy's girlfriend. That seems like a guy who holds a grudge. So yeah.
I did sleep with a bunch of redneck girlfriends.
Hey man.
I was a skater kid.
It's possible.
Look at this there, bro. This ain't no redneck.
See you wearing your Jenko.
The Italian stallion, bro.
wallets.
Tell him. Let him know.
Oh, shut up, Greg. Shut up.
Jinkos and chain wallets and Van shoes.
You just called it. I wore. Did I wear Vans? I don't think I wore Vans. But yes, exactly, dude. I had a 28-inch waist, and I wore 40-inch bottoms. Isn't that fucking ridiculous?
Yep.
God damn ridiculous. And yes, the wallet chain was critical. I was a skater kid. Like, you just called every bit of it. Well done. All right, next call.
Hey guys, it's Chuck from Elizabeth City calling.
What's up, Chuck?
Chuck.
I want to thank everybody since it's a slow week. Probably going to touch on, and that's our quarterback situation. Rumor has it the 49ers have called and asked about Teddy Bridgewater, and I know a lot of people out here, including myself, we would trade probably even the 5th or 6th round pick to get Teddy out the door. And just start over. And that's one aspect to look at. I don't know how serious the 49ers call was. It might have just been something to kick the tires, just an inquiry. Maybe Carolina thought they could get more for him than what they didn't think he's really worth. The 49ers could have basically said, hey, we want you to take Garoppolo for him. And I don't think that's a wash at best. I don't even think Garoppolo is probably as good as Bridgewater. So I think that probably tempered their expectations. One thing about it, though, I've kind of felt leading up until earlier today that we've been trying to hold on to Bridgewater is some type of piece to trade with Houston for Deshaun Watson to get the contract off the books. Maybe that's one reason why they've held on to him and trying not to get rid of him, because then we won't have enough pieces, or we've got to give up even more than what we want to get Deshaun here. I think it's looking more and more likely like Deshaun's not coming, because we're going to have to offer up probably 4 first-round picks. I think we can take McCaffrey off the boards. I don't want to lose Burns, and I think losing Brown and Chin, even DJ Moore, it might be too much. Maybe, one of those guys like DJ Moore with 3 first-round picks would make sense. But the thing is, guys, everybody's kind of, looking at everything. And I think everybody knows we're desperate for a quarterback without a doubt. And that's why it might really screw us as we try to maybe move up in this draft to number 3 or number 5, even number 2, what we got to give up. and we might be stuck on the outside looking in and not get a quarterback.
Yep.
Not wrong.
Really gotta
True that.
sit
And
back,
guess who
shut 'em
said
down,
this
and
from the
watch what
beginning?
happens. Quarterback follows the 8 take.
Cody.
If not, and the deal's not there, trade down. Let's build the rest of it. I've been preaching this for a long time. Offensive line, defensive backs, something, and let's trade down and acquire more picks. Let PJ play the year. If we just cut Bridgewater straight out, we can't even get a 6th or 7th round pick. That's fine, but let's not give away what we're going to do. I think people think we're desperate, and it is going to suck if we have Bridgewater or even if PJ starts next year, and you need to draft a.
I want to hit this up real quick.
Yeah,
Chuck, I think you know what, you hit the nail on the head. And that is, you have the fear, not the fear, the trepidation that Cody is talking about. Is the 8th pick is the outside looking in. It's the bubble. It's the bubble where you don't get the guy you want. You pick the guy that you don't want. It's the Mac Jones pick. 8 is the Mac Jones pick. Is that where you are like, fuck, we can't get the guy, but we feel pressure to get a quarterback, so we pick an 8. That's Cody's trepidation. On the other hand, there's a trepidation from the group of people who believe that the trade up or even trade for Watson philosophy is just too costly to a organization and too risky. And at that case, I would say this is that then the trading back on a team where you have so many needs seems legitimate. The kind of worst is the purgatory, where you pick Kyle Pitts. You know what I mean? Are you really going to change? And you could have made this argument. You made this argument in last year's draft. You were very upset with the not very upset, but the Derek Brown, right? Pick. Yeah. Not because, one, you liked Isaiah Simmons a lot. You're in love with him. But your idea was is that I think originally, Cody, and you were kind of on it from the beginning, is like Justin Herbert. Like, this is like you either make a move, it's like shit, or get off the pot.
Yes. And by the way, to answer
where I feel like we're at.
Yeah, and to answer Charles specifically, I kind of feel like that's staying on the pot but not taking a shit what he's doing, or like what he's advocating for.
Back, like that, trading back is really taking a nice long shit and reading a book.
Well, no, but this is what I'm saying though. Okay, let's say we better our offensive line. We get another, let's say we get a shutdown corner, right? We trade back. We take Caleb Farley in the first. And let's say we fill out our football team, but we still don't get our quarterback. Okay, so what happens next year when we're picking like 15 or 16?
We won't.
And there's more quarterbacks.
It won't be enough. It won't be enough,
dude. All we needed was one more win than we had this year, and we're at 15.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the margin of
we're going to be
what I've been trying to say.
Team next year, it doesn't matter. You could have the best fucking draft this year, all of this, and we could be at a 6th, a 7th, a 10th pick, and then you could go in free agent. You could you have more options. The worst thing is, I think the worst thing is that mediocrity, which is like you just get one player at 8, and guess what? Meh. And now it's
but if you don't have the quarterback, then again you can still be. Look at the Bears. The Bears are the perfect example. The Bears are the best football team that don't have a quarterback to put them over the edge.
They also don't have an offensive line either. Their offensive line is atrocious. Or you know what? Maybe the 4-man rush people can tell me their offensive line is awesome. Like they told me the Houston Texans one is. But I'm pretty sure that their offensive line is not dominant. Yes, you could get a quarterback, and it would make a giant difference. It would really help with a defense, this and that. But at the end of the day, their offensive line is shit. Like, you do have to have a competent team and a quarterback.
Yeah.
Well, I want to point out too that 8 is a good pick. We're only looking at it as a bad pick if you're looking for a quarterback and teams in front of you need a quarterback. You can get a solid player at 8.
Yeah.
Luke Kuechly was drafted 8th, wasn't he?
Punt. Cody, what if we punted? We take a left tackle, and guess what? The team does not change in many wins, but it gets better in the long run. And then you get
but again, how do you get your quarterback? That scenario does not equal a better scenario to get our quarterback. If you're in the position to get them now, because we don't want to be picking in this range again. That's my whole point.
Next call. We got so many. All right. Powering.
Yeah, last night I was watching the podcast that had you 4 guys on there.
Same one.
I think I played that one.
Fog ass brothers, how y'all doing?
We've heard this too. Oh, there we go. All right, good. Maybe we don't.
Shut from losing the city, trying to finish up my call, guys. But like I'm saying, we need to trade down. And if we can't get a quarterback in this draft, we got to let it go. And it sucks, but we've got other positions we need. We can be strong in other areas and see what happens. But I'm telling you, it doesn't look like Houston's interested in Bridgewater. And if we can't even get him in this package deal, it's going to make it more difficult as we have to give away more aspects that are more valuable to acquire Deshaun and still get rid of Bridgewater. So,
unless we trade up with another team, like the Dolphins.
Phase. Another thing we need to turn our attention to is some of these guys, whether it be Hassan Rick for the Cardinals at linebacker, or maybe Kyle Rudolph got released today, a tight end from the Vikings. Trying to bring in some pieces in free agency. What way do we go? We need to start looking at that and concentrating. But one thing's for sure with this draft, we better have a plan A and a plan B. Plan A, trade up to 2, 3, or 5 and get the quarterback we want. If it doesn't look like it's going to be there and somebody else is going to jump us, plan B is to stay at 8, pick the best available player on defense or offensive lineman, or trade down, acquire more picks, and let's try to build everything else outside of quarterback and just take it from there. Thanks for calling.
Interesting point. Hassan Reddick, former Temple player, walk-on in 2012, was a running back and safety freshman, redshirted in 2012, saw his first game action in 2013. As a senior in 2016, he was named first team All AAC. I believe that's a rule, dude.
And that was one of the points I wanted to bring up was the fact that the Cardinals are signed JJ Redick. They're not going to be able to afford to keep Peterson or JJ Watt. Yeah, I said Redick. They're not going to be able to afford Pat Peterson or Hassan Reddick. So those two are free agents that I would love to have either one of those guys on the team if they want to be serious about building our team up.
I don't know that
Reddick maybe more than Peterson just because he's younger, but sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to bring this up because I think that's a good point, but I also think that the JJ Watt signing is a perfect example of why we need that guy as far as a quarterback. JJ Watt has come out publicly and said he signed with the Arizona Cardinals because he believed in Kyler Murray. Now, granted, they also paid him $33 million.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 years, $33 million helped.
But when you have a quarterback, like he was probably offered that or more somewhere else. Let's be honest.
I don't know.
I mean, reality is,
he won't go in Detroit for that money.
Yeah, dude.
The most surprising thing is that he sees Houston as such a contender. That's the most surprise. Other than that,
Cardinals.
Thank you. The Cardinals.
Is making sure we're understanding.
Yeah. He's ring chasing, and it turns out money. Like he ain't settling for no.
I'm about to sell my JJ Watt rookie autograph.
I thought he got more money. I thought he achieved more money than I expected to.
I think so as well. When I saw that, I was like, "What?" And he's guaranteed that much? Holy hell!
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, for the first 5 years of this guy's career, he was one of the best players in the NFL. Just players in general, not just defensive players. And in the last 5 years, he's just been too injury prone, man.
Like he was Aaron Donald.
I think he was better than Aaron Donald.
I mean, but he was an edge No, he's
terrible. I wouldn't say better, but
well, he was also scoring touchdowns and playing offense. Aaron Donald's doesn't do that.
He was so dominant. It was like Von Miller at his peak. It was, he was a dominant player. And like Aaron Donald, when you play Aaron Donald, like whatever team he's on, you're like, oh, fuck, we got to deal with this dude.
Yeah.
That's how he was. I do think it's interesting, maybe what that is a signal, what he believes the Arizona Cardinals can be. And really, look, they got a lot of parts. You got Chandler Jones there, another Hall of Famer on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is that the offense is cooking in certain ways.
So it's Baker,
wasn't one of the teams Carolina beat last year?
Yeah, Buda Baker's one of the best safeties in the league, dude.
But wasn't one of the teams we beat last year?
It was.
We did. We surprised them.
How good are they really?
Hey, Greg, we almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs, bro.
Yeah.
All right, next call.
What's going on, C3 Nation? It's your boy Jay Anderson hitting y'all up. Man, somehow I believe that David Tepper had a bet with somebody before he took this team, that he had a bet with somebody that his team was going to win the Super Bowl either last year, last year, 2019, or this coming year. Because, what he is doing, he's out here being desperate, man. I mean, it's like a dude who tried to smash just anyone just to say he had sex. And he's just looking bad out here, man. And it's making the team look bad and making the franchise look bad, man. I mean, all of us is not in the. We all fans of the team. We have not been in the business of the NFL, being on the NFL team or nothing like that. But
speak for yourself.
Looking outside, how can you not know what to do with this team if you have been paying attention? And how you not know how to run a team when you was all, you want to come down here and run it like Pittsburgh. It's like, dude, I think you miss a lot of classes in how to run a football team. Good, you got the business side, but other than that, you haven't been focused on the football side. What's needed in anything? You should have seen how Rooney and I forgot the GM name on there, Kevin Colbert up there. The GM see how they work, so you know how to do things. Because you're messing up this old Teddy Bridgewater, and get two shits about Teddy Bridgewater. He shouldn't have got signed in the first place. I mean, you should have fired Money Hurney. We said that many times that you should have fired Money Hurney. But the chance you got to get this franchise a new head start, but you didn't do that, which was dumb. You didn't do that. You watch him sign Shaq to that crazy contract and the CMC to that big contract, while Derrick Henry ain't getting that paid big in the CMC, and he's set for good. I think he's making like $12 million a year, I think. So he's set for good. So it's like you end up getting desperate, man. And for Teddy Bridgewater, man, like, dude, I mean, you're supposed to sell your guys.
All right, next part.
Yeah, this is Jay Anderson hitting y'all back. But like I said, man, I mean, you should have been try to sell Teddy, as a good quarterback, so we can get some draft picks from him by another team. The Niners want him.
Or just
hopefully we get some picks from that.
A pick.
The way y'all been dragging them, good. I mean, I'm cool with letting them go. I didn't like how they do Teddy. Granted, I don't want him here. Never did want him here, but I don't like how they, they messed that up. It's kind of like you're going to have karma come back on you. Like players don't want to come here because how you operate business. Granted, business is business. Sometimes you let people go, but the way you do things is not good for business and stuff like that. So, I mean, and I know people have been talking about the whole draft,
if you get rid of Teddy, then you have to pick up somebody. And I know you have to pick up one of these rookie quarterbacks. God, I hope we don't get Matt Jones because I just don't believe in Matt Jones. I believe in Trey Lance and Justin Fields, But I know a lot of people saying if you take Trey Lance, you have to sit him a year, and not necessarily. You don't.
Which
have
would
to
be
sit him
fine if you had Teddy.
If Trey Lance has the smarts to pick up a play and knows how to run that play, which I believe he does. I don't think people believe he doesn't. Well, I think he does. If he knows how to do that, pick up the offense real easy and execute the offense, good, then he can start week 1. Do I want him to start week 1?
No.
Right now you might as well. Because if you're able to start week 1, man, you just don't belong in the NFL. That's
I disagree.
I know some players.
I'm going to say this is that I think there's 2 teams where there's a couple of teams that are poised to draft a quarterback super early and not feel forced immediately to throw them to the wolves. The Atlanta Falcons we talked about at 4. And I think the Carolina Panthers are another option there because nobody wants Teddy Bridgewater for a bag of potato chips.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to pay him. You draft a quarterback like Trey Lance on a rookie deal, and you pull a Patrick Mahomes. You know what I'm saying? You do what the Chiefs do, and not because you have to do that, because it's just right to do that. He's young. You're trying to acclimate him. You're not trying to break him like a Derek Carr, whatever the Carr was that the Texans did in the first place.
David, yep.
I think that the Panthers would, if they drafted Trey Lance, and I think this is that we're going to make this a question for the next show, or maybe we do a midi video together. Is the relationship between the Carolina Panthers and Teddy Bridgewater irreparable at this point? Mm-hmm. Last week, Cody Lashney said, I think Teddy Bridgewater wants out.
Yeah.
But what happened? You know what he don't want out of? His contract. So what happens if all this shit happens? What if all this shit happens? We draft Trey Lance, Teddy Bridgewater's still on team, and we're like, you're starting, bitch. He's gonna be like, okay. You know what? He's gonna be like, okay. He can't force a trade. He can't force nothing. He's gonna have to go out there and play.
Yeah, he can go out there and play like shit on purpose. Well, he can't.
He's got to
good anyway. So
he's got to play for his future. I mean, if he has any intentions of even being a backup, he's got to play.
Dude, if you gave me $68 million, I'm not worried about playing in the future. Come on, man. He gets all that contract. I ain't worried about that.
I think that's where you're wrong. I think money is
parlay.
I think money is infectious, and so whether or not he got $68 million this year, he's going to want another $68 million at some point in his life. And if he goes about this the wrong way, he's impacting his ability to actually earn that type of money in the future. Yeah. But here's what I want to say about that call. We started out talking about how we mishandled the Teddy Bridgewater situation, that we should have maybe like tooted him as being like, he's such a good quarterback. We love him. Do you guys remember what we did to Cam? I mean, we weren't doing much to make him out to be this great quarterback before we tried to trade him. Like, we were like, we got to see how he's healthy, all this stuff. I remember our conversation this time exactly last year before the draft, when we were, or even leading up to the draft, before we let Cam Newton go, saying, we don't know. They were being very non-committal on Cam. And it wasn't until the Super Bowl that we started to feel confident, because Cam's like, yeah, I'm coming back. No problem. Those guys did not do Cam any favors with his with trying to boost him up as being like a great quarterback that we need to try to trade him for stuff. So you're expecting a lot of it out of an organization that's already proven to be failing in that department.
Mm-hmm.
They're not savvy right now. I said this, I think, in the last podcast, is that the Panthers are David Tepper and Matt Rule are learning some tough lessons about the politics of the NFL.
Yeah.
Is that maybe they've been too honest at some points. Maybe they've been too whatever. And they should have been like, dude. And then they do what the Rams did. They're like, Goff's our quarterback until he's not our quarterback, and then like tomorrow he's not our quarterback.
Yeah.
In a little bit. All right. Next call.
Well,
Tony.
I was gonna say, before you start it, here we go.
All right. Greg, tell them where they can find you.
Check me out at the BetDaddy52 on Twitter. Sorry, I got to get out here early. You find me there. You'll find all my shows. Phil, thank y'all very much. Works early in the morning.
For your mail. Thanks, Greg. Love you.
I'll see y'all later.
Take it easy.
Hey, man.
Italian mother. I just want to say.
I gotta start this again.
Tony, you Italian mother. I just want to say. Teddy Stuffs. Yeah, that's right. Teddy Stuffs. And there's no way somebody who makes $20 million a year and drives a minivan, a soccer mom, does not stuff. That sucker, he is.
He's a male stuffer.
That's out of the way. Bleacher Report came out with a list of 9 prospects with connections to the Panthers coaching staff. And we know how old Matty Rule loves his players and loves the coaching staff and players that has played with his previous coaching staff. I'm just going to read off a few of these names, see if any of these make sense. There's a lot of wide receivers on this list, but maybe it's something to talk about. We got LSU wide receiver Jamar Chase, wide receiver Terrence Marshall Jr., wide receiver Racing McMath, Baylor edge William Brady King, Baylor offensive tackle Blake Beadler, Baylor O-line Jake Burton, Temple wide receiver Brandon Mack, Temple defensive tackle Daniel Archibong, a Temple wide receiver / cornerback Freddie Johnson. What do you think about any of these free agent pickups or any of these guys? A potential pickup? Would they help us out?
Reddick, another one.
I know we got to build this wall, but hey, let me know. Might be directing that question toward Cody, that long hair mother. But okay, hey, what it do? You know what time it is? Smash that thumbs up button. Greg,
TK, my dude.
Rah, rah, rah.
Great call. Yeah, he's hitting on the Matt Rule connections to players, right? We know that nepotism is truly a part not only of Matt Rule's system, but of the NFL in general. But Matt Rule has displayed a lot of confidence in people that he's willing to work with and knows and feels comfortable with, right? From his coaching staff to players like Robbie Anderson to Bravion Roy, right? There's another example of that. So the question is how do the Panthers build that offensive line, and do any of those names? I could tell you this, as he read that entire list, I didn't know one person's name. Except for maybe the early receivers, like, right? He said Jamar Chase, right? LSU. I think some of these are being linked to Rule and the staff because of the Senior Bowl. I'm expecting, like they're like, oh, he said good things about Mac Jones. Oh, hey, who's our guy, the safety from UCF or USF?
Richie Grant.
Another one. They're like, oh, they're raving about him. And guess
Andre
what?
Cisco is another one too.
Every mock draft the Panthers got at 39 Richie Grant.
Yeah, look, I again, I've mentioned this before, and it's especially true for me now that I'm catching up and looking at all these different prospects. Man, I see so many players that I would just love for them to be a Carolina Panther. Like, I'm looking at all these corners, like J.C. Horn, who's incredible. Patrick Surtain. I really like a lot of these guys, but knowing that we need the quarterback and knowing that's probably the direction that we're going, it's like, damn, we're going to miss out on a lot of these guys. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking, stay tuned to the channel. We're going to be doing some more draft content and some free agent content as all that stuff starts to come near, and we'll we'll do a deep dive on a lot of free agent picks and a bunch of draft picks too.
We'll go back to that call, and we're going to look into those names even more specifically. All right, next call.
Hey, man, this is Shane Welch, the Cardiac Cat 13, calling from Stokesdale, North Carolina.
Well, look at this,
and
professional.
I just wanted to give you mad props, Cody, for this about Mitch Trubisky being the 7, I forget how you put it. You said something about he was the 7 chairs of hell or something like that, but that shit was funny. But anyway, as far as the draft, I was wondering what y'all were thinking about. What if we trade back from the 8th spot and maybe we don't get one of those first quarterbacks, but we get somebody like a Mac Jones and then get some more draft picks so that we can fill some of the other holes on our team. Anyway, you guys have a great night. Talk to you later. Peace.
Matt Jones could come here, but we would have to build a really good offensive line first, and we would have to retain our receiving core. I do not value Matt Jones at 8. You did say trade down, though. I mean, yeah, look, at the end of the day, if the Panthers like Matt Jones and they feel comfortable with it and they feel like they can trade back to get him, like that's the problem. I don't think they're going to trade back because if they aren't trusting Teddy Bridgewater going forward, then if Matt Jones is there, they might just say, well, fuck it, that's our guy, and let's take him. So
fuck it. That's what we want to hear about our new franchise quarterback.
Yeah, fuck it. Just take him. Yeah, just take him now.
That's what I felt with the CBS crew was doing when we listened to the Pick 6 podcast. What they were saying, the Eagles were saying at that point, it's like, oh, Mac Jones is the 4th or 3rd quarterback. Like, we got to do it. And this is where I'm with Chuck on, is that I don't want to be forced into a corner to pick the quarterback. And that's what, you know what, is that's why you've convinced me, Cody, is like either we trade up and we get the guy we want, we trade for Deshaun Watson, which we can't do, or the guy falls to us by some crazy point at 8. If none of those 3 things happen and it's Mac Jones at 8 and all the other guys, and you didn't really want them, I want out. Like, get me out of this. Like, you either pick a tackle or you move back. I just don't want to be forced into a corner. Dave Gettleman used to say this. You use free agency to set up the draft. Sadly, he did not follow his own rules a lot of times, i.e. the Josh Norman rule. There's some different things he did. But that, I think, is a very sound piece of advice, is if you want that guy, go get him. If the guy you wanted, if Trey Lance and you really thought he's the dude and he's there at 8, then take him. But don't take Jimmy Clausen at 8 because Mel Kiper told you to do it. Or because you feel like you have to, right? Like, we have no other choice. Like, we need a quarterback. Like, either have some fucking guts about it or fold. Next call.
Hey, what up, guys? This is Joe from Denver, representing the Mile
What
High
up,
Cats.
Joe? Yeah.
I just had a question about what do you guys think about the traction on what's going on with the 49ers and the trade possible
Smoke.
for Bridgewater? You know,
Smoke.
You think they should jump on that? Pick up maybe
Yes.
a 4th or 5th or whatever
Yes.
the heck they Bridgewater, or should they keep him and wait to see if they can do anything with Watson?
Is there any reason not to trade him? No.
Yeah, but to not trade Bridgewater?
I know. Like, you could give me an unrestricted free like an 8th round pick, and there's not even an 8th round pick in the draft.
Dude, I'm just saying. Okay, look, dude.
Trade.
You better hope that we're able to get somebody else, because we might have no option and we have no choice but to run with PJ Walker for the next.
But that's what you wanted. That's what you wanted. You get what you want.
Who wanted that?
You wanted that.
When did I want that?
Last year.
Yeah, last year was the time to do it, not now.
So now you want to win another 5 with Teddy? I don't want to watch Teddy play anymore. I'm done with this dude. I don't
Same,
like
bro.
him.
Nobody
I
wants to
like
watch
him.
it.
I just don't like him.
Yeah.
All right, next call.
How many calls do we have?
Yes, sir. My name is Leo. I'm just calling about the Deshaun Watson trade, and I completely disagree with it. My suggestion is build through the draft. Trey Lance has the same skill set, or we take Matt Jones, who's efficient, and has very good arm talent. Opinion on the matter.
All right, man. Appreciate the call. Thanks. Big shout out to Jermaine Gill, $5 super chat, man. We really appreciate the support. And look, as well, Jermaine felt remarkably generous, and we certainly appreciate that. For people that can't give at this moment, you know what you can give? Thumbs up, a share, a rating, a talk. You can give me a thumbs down. You can tell them, you can call in, all those things. Subscribe, all that is free. You gotta say something, Cody? CK?
Subscriber shame.
It's CK's thing.
Oh, look, this was the second part of his call. He's pocket dialing us. Look, that's us. It's us. All right, next one.
Wait, what happened?
That was the second call. That was the second call because I think he tried to hang up and it didn't hang up because then it went blank. But listen to this call.
With 4 first-round picks would make sense. But the thing is, guys, everybody's kind of, looking at everything. And I think everybody knows we're desperate for a quarterback without a doubt. And that's why it might really screw us as we try to make it move up against draft. Number 3,
this is him
5,
listening to us.
What we got to give
Watch.
up. And we want something. And let's trade down the required board.
I really hope he's not doing anything embarrassing because he's probably over there sweating if he was. He's like, oh, shit.
It's still recording. It's us. All right, next call.
Man, it's John Jenkins. I heard my boy talking about starting PJ Walker, and I just wanted to say,
yes,
we need to witness the Walker wonder.
My man, see, I'd rather do that than damn Teddy. I'm sorry. I'm ready to roll with PJ. Everybody look, y'all shit on PJ Walker because he came in and he's there like throw deep, and he did.
He just didn't do it.
Yeah. The other thing is people love to shit on Corn Elder. Corn Elder, people love to dump on this guy. Why? Well, I see Corn Elder and Ben Wickery have something in common. The team had some poor problems in their own secondary, this and that. Corn Elder's coming off an injury, hadn't played in a year, and they're like, go cover damn Galladay or somebody. It was like Detroit or whatever. Ben Wickery, same thing. They were like, oh, you haven't played in a year. You're coming off of a broken leg that's like the worst leg break you can have. Go cover Julio one-on-one. And then these mugs get toasted. You remember Corn Elder didn't turn his head around and the ball like this was like right. All of this. And then everybody's like, oh, Corn Elder sucks. No, sometimes you put people in a terrible position. And maybe the Teddy Bridgewater people would be like, oh, well, now Tony finally gets what I'm saying. Well, stop hating on Corn Elder. Is that, guess what? Is y'all gonna, he was a good nickel corner this year, and he ain't gonna be on the team no more. Look, this guy, how many times? All right, we're almost done. I think. Let's see. These are butt dials now. Everybody's getting drunk and like, look at this. Let's listen in. Let's creep. What are y'all doing?
No, you get 5 seconds to make a call.
Okay. Hold on. I'm fast forwarding.
Get a quarterback, and it would make a giant difference. It would really help.
Here it is.
The Bears are the best football team that don't have a
That's us. That's us. See, it's more of our butt dials. Or his butt dials. All right. I think this is the last one.
Hey guys, Chuck from Elizabeth City calling y'all
Chuck?
guys late. Listening to this podcast.
Way to stay up, bro.
I just kind of wanted to add one thing. Tepper, he's putting his so-called balls on the table, letting everybody know, I want a quarterback. I want to win now. He was letting it all out there. You know, we had Richardson for all those years, was quiet, didn't say anything. Took him over 20 years to build a bubble to practice in. We were practicing inside a convention center on a carpeted ballroom floor.
Ridiculous.
This man's gone out and acquired land. He's going to have a facility that's just as nice as anything that Dallas or any other team has. He's building things, folks, and he's going to probably build a dome stadium before it's over with to host a Super Bowl. Now, I'm not taking up for him, but when he's anxious on one way that looks good for us, he's also going to be anxious trying to acquire every coach and player he can to win a championship.
Yep.
I mean, it's a good point. Great point. You know, is that Tepper comes from a world of finance where the long game and results clash, right? And guess who always wins? Results. Right? Is that you can be the guy that is a hedge fund manager and steady she goes. You made 7, 8, 9% game. That's not what they want. They want fucking results. And they want real, tangible, beat ass results. Number one. Number two, I think is a good point. Is look, now you had the Carolina Panthers Stadium, which look is Richardson fended off. He tried to be this martyr, this pillar that turned out to be weird in the end. The fact that he wanted to, you know, it's such a weird ending to the Jerry Richardson story. Even though we got some signals when it came to the Denny stuff and some stuff, but like the shield, he's the guy that caught the Ice Bowl touchdown. Right, is that he always puts the league first. He brought Carolina this. He wanted a stadium that had real grass, which I hear players. Who's the guy? Solomon Thomas is calling for every stadium in the NFL to have real grass because like the shit at the Meadowlands fucked is like they have 5 ACL tears in one game.
Yeah, dude, look at all the 49ers, dude. People complain about that turf all the time. Yeah.
Richardson is like he's like this purist. He's kind of the football purist. The shield on the field, the grass on the turf. We're gonna play in the elements, this and that. But Tepper but then it's weird. It turns out he was secretly just a lazy cheap ass too, because you practice in the ballroom. The ballroom. They're doing, I mean, it's like weird. That's stupid. Like, I mean, even high school facilities in Charlotte have better facilities. High schools, like Charlotte's got all these big ass high school private schools and this and that. They probably got practice fields and the Panthers didn't. So I think the other thing I'm interested in is that Tepper's bringing the Stones. He's bringing Garth Brooks to Bank of America. And he's looking at, hey, I got these guys for 8 games a year in this stadium, but there's 44 other weeks of the year I can be using this shit. So I think Chuck's right on the money. I think the right on the money is that I think Tepper is just hungry, and I think that's by his nature. I think it's in the winning. I think it's in the development. And I think it's in you know what? This guy's trying to make money in he's just not content. I feel like Richardson was like
MLS. Chuck mentioned MLS too. You gotta mention that. Charlotte has a soccer team because of the man. Look, the man's making moves. Listen, I like his tenacity, and in a way you can't really blame him for the things that you don't know. And in interviews he said like he knew that there was a bunch of things that he didn't know, and he had to get used to being an owner that is, you know, running a football team, and he had to be aware of the things that he didn't know. You know, I still maintain that caused him to make some moves a little bit later than he should have. But dude, I've said this before, man. Billionaires get what the fuck they want. If you're a billionaire, you are not used to being told no. and you will move heaven and earth to make it happen. And that remains to be seen. That might be true. David Tepper might be so powerful he will his football team into getting his desired quarterback.
Here's the hoping.
Here's to hoping, and hoping that this billionaire can use his big metal balls to.
I just hope that we continue to hear that Dak Prescott wants second Pat Mahomes money.
Yeah, which is
no way.
Can we get to the ice up, because that was
it's time. It's time. We're here. All right. C3 Panthers podcast live every Tuesday night. The number's 252-228-5098. It's free to smash the thumbs up button. It's free to smash the thumbs down button. I don't give a shit which one to do. Don't be on the fence. Love it, hate it, share it, subscribe to it, and ice some fools up, Cody.
Yeah, I'm gonna make mine kind of simple. I had two different options, but since you mentioned that, I'm going with that one. Dak Prescott wants Pat Mahomes money, or apparently he wants to be the second paid quarterback in the NFL, and that is just is bullshit, man. Like, he's not worth that dollar amount. He's not worth that at all. He was a really good quarterback for 1 year, and the Cowboys had the best offensive line of the past decade, and a running back that had 1,600 yards and 15 touchdowns.
Right.
And to know that you're coming off of an injury, like, I don't know. I understand you're trying to get paid, but I don't, dude. That's crazy to assume that you want Patrick Mahomes kind of money. Like, that's just dumb. And I'm not even saying that he's a bad quarterback. I'd prefer to have him over Bridgewater. But dude, like, you have to read the room a little bit, man. Like, you are not worth that kind of money. And I don't know what team.
Even when you didn't shatter your ankle.
You weren't.
Even when you didn't turn your foot backwards. You weren't. You weren't that kind of quarterback. And it's like, I say this,
he
and people
was having a great year. He was, like, statistically just balling out.
Yeah, but they were still a really bad team even when he was there. They weren't winning. They were losing to a lot of bad teams.
Brian
I agree.
Donaldson said Dak is a garbage time quarterback. And I kind of agree with that. To Dak Prescott, ice up, son. Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and do my sign off and everything too. I'm about to jump off here. Check out the draft tag tomorrow. There's a brand new mock draft involving a trade. Lots of cool picks. And check me out on Twitter. Like I said, we're gonna be doing a lot more draft content. Tony and I have some plans to make some draft videos here soon. We're going to be doing that. I love talking draft. This is my time of the year. So check me out, drafttech.com and at Cody Lack on Twitter.
All right, your boy. Take it easy. Tell your mom I said what's up.
For sure, man. Later.
CK, you got anything for us?
Yeah, man. I mean, I it's hard for me not to use these guys as an example. You've already kind of highlighted a little bit of it. But when you make an argument, I'm a big CMC fan, right? Don't get me wrong. But when you still have people who are hands down, and okay. Let me take a step back here, guys. So I was getting into this Twitter beef along with Tony with these guys who were somewhat defending Teddy Bridgewater while at the same time not defending him. Their basic principle was that we would be a better team with CMC and Teddy Bridgewater than we would be with Deshaun Watson and no CMC, which is an asinine thought, right? Because the level of impact on a game is far more valuable on a quarterback standpoint than it does on a running back standpoint. I like CMC. I don't want him to go. I would like to keep him here. But if it's between him and Deshaun Watson, I'm taking Deshaun Watson every day of the week, right? But nonetheless, the guy starts to really defend Teddy Bridgewater using Teddy Bridgewater's stats of, look at his completion percentage, his passer rating. He was using arguments like he is number 6 in the franchise as far as passing yards in one season. And My argument to this guy, I was like, listen, have you even looked at the list? Because you sound dumb right now. Like when you go look at the list, you're gonna
on that list.
He's beating Will Greer by like 1 rank. Like the person below him is Will Greer. Like, let's put that in perspective, guys. We're a 25-year-old organization, and we've had 2 quarterbacks that were a quarterback for almost a decade. So that's not a good comparison. The fact he's number 6 is not a good thing. Anyway, that out of the equation, that part out. And then he starts to say, "What is your?" He basically said, "You have no you don't know anything about football. You weren't taught by anybody that knows anything about football or anything like that." And I said, "Okay, well, what exactly are your credentials?" And he said, "My uncle is a coach in the NFL." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, sir. You misunderstood me. What are your credentials?" I'm sorry. I think you misunderstood me. And he was like, "Well, how do you think you learn? Is you sit there and you learn how to process film from him?" I'm like, "Oh, all right, let this guy's already off his fucking rocker anyway." But anyway, when he starts making arguments that CMC is more impactful than Deshaun Watson would be on our team, it's just an asinine argument that is just been proven wrong time and time again in the way the history of the NFL works. So that guy, I'm not even going to say his name because I can't even remember because he's that little of an impact on my life after today. Ice up, son.
All right, my ice up pick this week goes to base MLB spring training, and I don't even know the team and the player that did this, but there is a mercy rule now, and not a mercy rule where the team just gets blistered by like 70 runs or something, where it's just embarrassing.
Yeah.
The rule is this now is that if a pitcher throws 20 pitches in an inning during spring training, the manager has the option to end the inning, not pull the pitcher, but straight up end the inning. No outs, no nothing. So this pitcher, God, where was he at? All right, so he ended up like giving up a single. He ended the bases are loaded. He gets like first and second, walks a guy on the third, then walks a guy home. You're sitting here thinking, oh, this guy gets out of the inning somehow and he makes a career. No, this dude didn't get out of the inning. He walks the guy home and the manager says it's over. They call the inning because he threw over 20 pitches, and then the guy gets to trot out there the next inning. Now, I just feel like this is I understand that spring training doesn't mean anything. I also understand that the Pro Bowl doesn't mean anything, that the All-Star, baseball has always been trying to implement the idea that the All-Star game means something because you get home field advantage. Everybody's trying to find a way to make these inconsequential games consequential.
Yeah.
Spring training is inconsequential because it doesn't count to the record. But you know what makes it inconsequential? Is by not playing baseball. What do you want to do? Is throw batting practice? I mean, you might as well just throw batting practice.
Yeah.
The pitcher is up there trying to get better and get prepared, and this dude's got bases loaded, and they're like, you know what? Fuck this. This is too much pressure. Too much. Let's just move on to the next inning. Let's run this back. Yeah. Sorry, I just think this is then just don't do any of it. That's my kind of point on this, is that if you're so worried about how many pitches these guys are going to throw, then just throw practice. Then just have practice. Yeah. Don't have scrimmages. And it's kind of like how I feel a little bit about preseason when it comes to the NFL and this and that.
Yeah.
It's like when you make it 4 games, why don't you just make it so that you only have a limited sample set? So this is always something that bugged me about the preseason with the NFL, is that games 1 and 4 don't matter at all. None. You're not going to see any of the starters. You're not going to see any of this. It's the 3rd game. You're going to see them for maybe a half. Yeah. Well, then just play 1 game with the starters,
right?
Week 1, and then put them to the shelf for the rest of the time, and then play the other bustas and let them get some practice.
Yeah.
But fake play is just not, I mean, you might as well, like, I don't want to watch it. So, or I don't even want to watch it. I don't even think they should want to play it. So I'm going to tell you, the mercy rule is okay for 12-year-olds getting slugged out 27-0, but the mercy rule is not okay for a first-round draft pick in the Major League Baseball league. Sorry. So ice up. All right. This is C3 Panthers podcast. My name's Tony Dunn. You can follow me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. And we're here every Tuesday night live, 9 p.m. You see the number on the screen, 252-228-5098. All the information is in the show notes. Oh, shit. I was meant to put the Manscaped plug. Look, if you want to trim your junk, use the code C3pod when you go to Manscaped. You'll hear it if you're downloading the audio version of this. We got to add and stuff like that. CK, how can they find your gaming?
You can find me on Facebook at Code Dizzle Allen is my name on Facebook gaming. And, hey, just come check it out. Just say, hey, what's up? Let me know you're from C3. I'll give you a nice epic shout out.
Yes, please. And look, as I'm telling you, when you see people on the internet trying to pierce through the noise and you are friends with them, you know them, what's the harm in sharing it, liking, subscribing, all of that? It's free. Do it. It helps us. It helps everybody. Like I see this is every time any of my friends are doing it, I'm like, retweet. People are like, damn, you a retweeter. Yes, I'm a retweeter. I'm trying to help us. I'm a retweeter. All right, guys, we're out of here. We got to go. Cody, go slay some mugs in whatever game you're going to play.
All right, we'll do, man. You have a good one, man.
Good night.
Laters.